guys text you, did you take the plan B? No. I forgot.
I'm going to take your husband and fuck him 6 weeks from Sunday. Maybe when I'm done with him, you can have him back. If he wants to come back. This doesn't concern you. This is between me and your wife.
But are you going to let her speak to me like this?
Oh, he can't help you. Now I take it that we will not need to have this conversation again.
She belongs to the street.
All right. What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome to another session here on the Chaos Rain Show. I am Chaos Rain here. And today's stream, the question should be asked and there should be answers to this. What's good? How you doing? And this is going to be very much a real in-depth conversation, an uncomfortable one. As much times that I've been holding back for some time now, but I think it's really now time to have some really honest critique about this personally. And I'm probably gonna be real honest and flat blunt. And at this point, I don't think I really gonna give a fuck at this point, but I have to do this from watching activities lately. But before I give you the title for today's stream, make sure if you are new to the Chaos Rain Show, hit the red button and the top notification bell for uploads and live streams here on the Chaos Rain Show. Also, follow me on Twitter at Chaos Rain 7. Add me as a friend on Facebook, Eric Rain on Facebook. And also, and last but not least, I see you, DR. I'm going to bring you up in a second. Last but not least, join the Discord service of the Chaos Rain Show. And what else I'm missing? Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm on Rumble now. As well, I have an upload. So please, follow me and add me on Rumble. As I'm, moving across different platforms, I would like to spread myself out. So for those that's not familiar with Rumble or know what it is, please follow me on Rumble. I think I'm going to be doing more really hardcore uncut content over on Rumble. But, as like I said, I want to get up to a certain following. So the goal is for Rumble to try to have at least 100 followers. That's the benchmark. So once I get to that, I'll probably will stream around there for more uncut scenes. Besides doing Patreon, which, I don't have that leverage yet, but, more to come. All right. So I'm going to bring up my special friend, another guy in the field of clinical psychiatry and therapy, the one and only DR. DR, can you hear me? Oh, shit. You're muted, bro. You're muted.
Oh, what's up, bro? What's up, player? How you doing, man?
What's
Good to see you.
What's good, bro? That's good, man. As you know, DR, before we do this breakdown analysis, we're gonna be honest here. Unfortunately, and at times we had conversation about this, and I think it's time to really have serious critique of our good brother, Mr. Dr. Umar Johnson.
Okay.
And really truly, it's not like he said this on himself, but really true. I mean, watch his behavior. And we're now on ninth year. And a lot of people are saying, when the school's coming? And from what I'm hearing from other people that have already built and did their best build schools, because children need schools now, right? That they're doing the work, at least, and they've been criticizing our good doctor for too long now. Now, at times I sit there and say, I'm just going to give it some time and leave it alone. But now, because of him really criticizing other people that's doing some work, and the ones that try to help him, and then find that he's now telling some errors. From what I've been following him, just like you've been following him as long as I've been following. Matthew, you probably know him more than me because I came across Omar over a decade ago.
Well, I came across Umar in 2014.
Okay,
so
well,
it's been 9 years.
Okay, for 9 years. For me, I would say roughly over 10. Actually,
Okay,
it's over 10. I think it might be 12, 13 years maybe. I went and met him back in the East Coast. And I'm gonna tell you a little background about how I came across Dr. Umar Johnson, since this is gonna be educational for those who know. I came across him through DVDs when he first appeared on the Y'all's Real Hour by Brother Dawa Yisrael. You don't know this man. He is now transitioned the end of 2022, like December. He had cancer. He was a young man. He was like in his 50s when he died. But he was in Chicago, had his own TV show, and he was very real and blunt. And he saw Omar through his works in Philly back in the end of 2000s, and he decided to bring him up on the show, and that's what he really brought his presence, and really brought him notoriety was on the Y'all's Real Hour. And I might have that DVD. I might try to upload it maybe. I gotta see if it's still on YouTube, but if people don't say, he really started to come into notice back in 2010, actually. So it's been like now 13 years. So everybody knew him about 2010. It was earlier than that. But like I said, hey, what's good, Jay Shine? I see Keep It 100. I see
What's up, Jay?
Yazrael. I think he's the first time here on the show. What's good? All right. So let me find the videotape now. I'm not gonna hold people's time. You might have saw it or might not, but I'm just gonna present it for the first time. And we're gonna do some breakdown. This is like roughly an hour, but so ain't gonna be a problem. Hold on, let me fast forward this. All right. So as you know, the question is asked on the subject today, people to know: is the working black man the problem? Now, this is what our good brother said. This is the working man, the average working Joe brother. We're gonna look at and have some honest opinions about this. So let's begin. As I play, if you want to stop it for critique, you may D-Darrell. As you know, we're gonna be honest.
Okay, sure.
All right, so let's begin, guys. So, and let me put up some things here. We'll put that, and we'll put fair use in effect. Let's begin, guys.
Is known as the Prince of Pan-Africanism, King Consciousness himself. He is here, and we will let him say a few words before we do get started.
Peace and Pan-Africanism. Glad to be with you, and looking forward to the conversation. Don't forget to support the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Get on your Cash App, $FDMG School. Get on your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. And for those who are interested in employment, feel free to send your resume along with cover letter and photo to fdmgresumes with an S at gmail.com.
And we'll put that information in the description box because I know that could be a lot for people to copy down.
And just like, we just hit on the school, of course, opening up in the new year. Dr. Umar, what did you learn throughout the process of building your school?
What did I learn? That everything I thought about Black folks were true. And what I mean by that is we had a lot of trouble finding dependable Black contractors with integrity, responsibility. We were taken advantage of, robbed, stolen from, let down, disappointed, betrayed, everything you could think of. We went through it for the past 3.5 years. So it was just a confirmation of why we need the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, the attitude of Black masculinity towards our responsibility of solving our own problems and raising up our community. It's a very big barrier to Black progress in this country. What else did I learn? I learned that if Black people trust you, if they believe in you, they will support you. The Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy is the first school in American history built by the African diaspora. No school ever in this country's history has been built, financed, renovated off of.
Now, as you know, D-Darrell.
I would like to comment, but let me know when I can comment.
Yes, let me say something, and I'll let you comment. I'm gonna pause it. As you know, I met a few Black, and I was trying to have some of them that are Black teachers or people that have institutions. There's some lady in North Carolina that is Black that has a last time I checked a Black institution teaching children.
Okay.
And that's, and I forgot. I think I got that from Mr. Q Butter and I think it was him or somebody else. Somebody told me about this. I'm not trying to get her on, but she didn't want to be put out on the limelight because she knows the work's more important than anything else. So I understand. That's one. And there's some other people. There's one in Chicago. I forgot his name. He's well known. You might not know him. He has a school institution. And there's probably some other things. But from here, I'm gonna let you respond.
Okay. First of all, and for those who are watching, and for those that know my support that I've had for Umar and how I have evolved in being critical of his work, his opening statements to me is indicative of how he will not take accountability for being part of the problem he had with as far as difficulty with the black people that he was attempting to patronize to provide services and whatever services that they were supposed to be, doing, as far as engaging in for the FDMG Academy. First and foremost, I know for a fact there were people who offered to do services for free. Matter of fact, he was
I
the one
know.
who
Well,
came.
I know that too. I've known that too.
Yeah, and first of all, you came out and asked. You're the one who put the seed, planted the seed to and seek out people who are willing to do things for free. And in business, you will know that anybody that does something for free is not going to approach that job the same way as someone who's doing it for profit. And the fact of the matter is that there were contractors. I know a couple of contractors personally that would have liked to have helped him. Umar Johnson has turned down a great deal of help because of certain parameters or strings that were attached that he was not willing to want to um, honor. So when you're operating on a shoestring budget, and let's be honest, the 750 plus and maybe close to a million now that he has raised is a shoestring budget for a school. So when you have limited budget, limited donations, a cloudy tax status, along with the amount of scandals that you engaged yourself in, yes, people are going to have some issues, and they may not function in a certain way with you. Now, we're only getting his side of the story. I'm not saying that he's not totally uh, correct on wrong on what he's saying, but I'm just saying there's probably more to the story with how some of those contractors didn't work out, and it's probably because they didn't want to work for free.
Yeah.
And that's just to me being honest, because even those who volunteer to want to do something for free, they're not going to exhaust their resources to do something for free. And you're better off just offering, um, you know, looking for contractors that are willing to work maybe on a discounted rate, or willing to work with you on whatever payment plan or whatever you would like that would be beneficial to the school. That would be easy for you from a financial standpoint. So you coming out talking about, you're starting to do this thing out about blaming other people for the lack of resources that you have. And so I'm inclined to say, based on the information, that it's not. I'm not saying that we're not bad. There may have not been an existence of bad contractors, because there probably was, but due to the fact of how long this has been going on, part of the blame is you have to take accountability for the budget that nobody knows about. And this has nothing to do with me just saying, he was totally wrong, because I still support and believe in the school itself. Now, you also, I wanted to end on this chaos, one of the things you brought up, as far as when the school is supposed to be opening.
Yeah.
As we speak, he has projected that the school should open towards the end of February. So I didn't know if you were aware of that, but he
Okay.
came out public on several occasions and said that a lot of things are pretty much done. We're looking for the occupancy licenses and so on, and he is projecting uh, the last week of February.
Okay.
So I'm going to hold him to that, even though it's an estimate, it's a projection, not etched in stone per se, written in stone, but that is pretty much what he's predicting. Now, if he falls short of that, um, I'm not going to beat him up for that, because I understand things come up due to the complexity of the school.
Mm-hmm.
However, if we're in the summertime or the end of, and you don't have something done, or you're projecting the end of the fall or the next, then there's a problem. We're seeing a cycle that has been going on ever since you bought the school in 2017, which we're 6 years removed from that time. So at the end of the day, you're the person who's operating the school. You're the person that's the face of the school. So don't blame it on black people for your lack of experience with handling the business aspects of a project like this, which,
Yes.
to be honest, is very difficult. I don't give a damn if you were even a white, of all white funded school would have issues. Okay, and that's not just related to the money itself, but also just all the legalities and everything that it takes, and the accreditation and so on, that's needed to have a private school. So LeBron had a school that's in his name. It took 5 years for that school to open. It wasn't just a matter of money. It was also a matter of everything that's involved to get a school together, to get everything organized and executed. So I just wanted to comment on that because you can't go in and saying, you had this issue. Well, we're Pan Africans. Pan Africans are supposed to have a positive um, mindset towards the betterment of African people throughout the world. We typically should not and ought not have a negative mindset towards the unity of black people to provide a institution that serves black people. That to me goes against the grain. But that's just my opinion. I'm not speaking for all Pan Africans. I'm speaking for myself.
Another thing, I heard from his own mouth or whatever text or wherever information has put it when he got the building a few years back, that he wants the black plumbers, the contractors, the HVAC to come in and provide a service for free as well. And to find that saying if these people were doing, even to the point some were on other podcasts saying that some were willing to help assist with the certain maintenance or the structure of
But
the
there
school.
were, there were.
And they wanted paperwork, and he did not follow through with it. So I'm thinking, what's really going on here? And to positive vibes, I'm not sure if Diderot said he's going to have upbringing in
No, it's this year, 2023, February 2023. So the school is supposed to open a month from now.
Yeah, in 1 week actually. To not
No, in 1 month.
Like the end of
The end of February. The end of February.
Okay, so in 1 month. Okay, all right, good.
Yeah, so basically almost a month from now. I'm thinking somewhere between the 24th to the 28th.
Okay.
The school may potentially open. I have no idea. It to me is all contingent. I think the last aspect of things is the occupancy licenses that are needed. As far as the HVAC and all of the other um, building, as far as the renovations, building, as far as the building and the HVAC and other things that are needed, I think all of those things have been taken care of according to him. So he is estimating the end of February. So I'm going to reluctant. I'm going to look at it from some deal of skepticism because I don't know. But if that's what he's estimating, then we'll just have to see. I'm skeptical, so I don't know. I'm at this point, so I'm not optimistic about it because we just don't know. That there's just not enough for information for me to feel optimistic about it. That's just this is where I'm at right now with things.
Okay. Before you continue, hello, who's this? Unmute yourself. Oh. Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, I see Charles Faulkner up in here. That's my little buddy. I need to go pay him a little visit. We ain't had a little rendezvous in a long time. But go ahead, brother. Okay, yeah. So
all right, let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah, I know somebody did not want to. All right, moving forward. Let's keep here. Ferris effect.
Donations from African people from every single continent in the world. And so we've achieved history in doing this. And so although I had to learn the bittersweet lesson that a lot of Black men are not worth their weight in salt, I also learned that Black people are willing to support and sustain a serious movement if they really believe in the person leading that initiative.
How did you get people to believe in that initiative if you feel like a lot of Black men don't really step up to the plate?
Well, it was the contractors who didn't do right by us. They don't represent the sum total of Black men. But in terms of Black contractors, I think it's critical that they were the disappointing party. Because if we're going to build Black Wall Street, if we're going to build our own institutions, we need responsible Black contractors to do that. I mean, these are the builders. These are the trained, licensed builders. So if we're going to have our own schools, our own banks, our own hospitals, supermarkets, distribution networks, and manufacturing centers, we need brothers who are trained and licensed and credentialed in those areas to carry that work forward. And the fact that we were paying them market rate fees for their service, and they still just could not deliver their work because they had to report to a Black person, was absolutely insane. If I had been white, I'm quite sure they would have done the work and done the work the way it should have been done. So it was just very disappointing to see that, especially given the mission. And the mission is to build a school to save our children. You know, we look at the suspension rates of Black boys, the expulsion rates of Black boys. We look at the learning disability, the ADHD, the conduct disorder, the emotional disturbance rates of Black boys. We look at the rate at which Black boys are arrested in school, receiving a all too early introduction into the juvenile detention process. You know, you look at the outcomes for our sons, it's not good. Only 1 out of every 4 Black boys is graduating in this country nationally. It is an epidemic. And so I thought that when I reached out to these brothers, they would say, hey, we got to do this. Not only is he paying us, the purpose, the mission is something that we need. They couldn't care less. You know, they couldn't care less. It was all about the money. And then even when they got the money, they couldn't do the work right. But again, that's not every Black contractor. We still have some other things that need to get done at the school. I'm still looking for Black contractors. I'm looking for Black roofers right now. I'm looking for Black window repairers right now. So they have not, you know, influenced me to give up on Black contractors, because that would be a contradiction of who I am and what I stand for. You know, we're going to keep on searching until we find the right ones. You know, it costs you money to do that. Obviously, we lost a lot of money dealing with these Negroes. But, you know, we're going to keep on searching until we find the right mix, because we still have the Frederick Douglass High School that still has to be renovated. You know, but I'd rather focus on the positive instead of the negative.
Yeah.
We're almost at the finish line. And the fact that we've had so many African people from around the world donate to this cause, you know, this was not an African American thing. I want to be very clear about that. African Americans definitely were one of the 2 largest donation groups, and we still have to do the math to see who actually gave the most. But our brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa gave a lot. Our brothers and sisters on the continent of Europe gave a lot. Our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean gave a lot. So it would be interesting to see who actually gave the most. But this was not an African American thing. This was a total Pan-African effort.
There's a lot of.
Before I continue, I see some people in the chat room. What's good? Let me read that.
Yeah, I see some folks in there that I recognize. So I'm
okay.
I'm going to be very aware of their statements, and you know,
yeah.
I mean, are you going to make a comment, or you wanted me to say I was going to comment on?
Let me read the chat room a little bit, and then I'll let you leave your comment.
Sure.
That School Equals Detox album. Okay. Omar Schools, Black Reparations. Okay. People really be denied the improvement Black men have made over the last 15 years. Okay. They're ignoring them. He had that. They were offering that to his goofy butt for free. Okay. Yeah. I like I said earlier. Yeah. On Naps TV. Primetime at J Electronica Astrology will drop before that school opens. Not possible. There are guys in the space who found Black contractors for work easily. Naps says, And Jay Sean writes, if his school was in Atlanta, Houston, etc., he wouldn't have that problem. You know, my thing with the Better Delaware district it's a good substantial black people there. I remember I did like a show on this on where we
Right.
reside.
There's a lot of people that live in Wilmington. Wilmington is a black city.
It is actually a black city. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You know.
So to me, this is not a function. This is not a example of lack of black competent professionals. I think not only are there, to me, I think there's enough of competent black professionals in Delaware, but Delaware is not that far from New York. It's not that far from Philadelphia. I mean, it's not that far from a lot of major cities. And I'm pretty sure, in that area, Maryland or what have you, you telling me that you having this great level of difficulty. To me, this is a function of mismanagement of the school. Look, I'm not saying that there weren't a few bad apples that he probably had to deal with, but the fact of the matter is that you operate on a limited income and you were expecting people to do something for free. And he initially tried to get people to do something for free. I don't know what were the negotiations for price or what they were supposed to do, but if you had this level of difficulty with a bunch of people, with a great deal of people, where it influenced the delay of the school being operational, you have to take some responsibility in that as the person who is the administrator. This is not just going to be all on the you hired the contractors. You're the person who vetted and picked them. And I'm hoping, yes, I understand you want to have black contractors and you want to keep the money in the community. But at the same time, you chose the people you chose, and you have to take responsibility for that.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, it goes back to the accountability piece. That, let's be honest, it is a foreign language to a lot of black folks, certain black men, about accountability. Every action you take, if you say you're gonna do something, please be on your word, or it's
right.
Now I'm not really sure how much money he actually accumulated. I know that this GoFundMe been around since 2004.
He basically started
2014.
14.
Because I remember he did a commercial of what he and during his 40th birthday, mind you. That's it. It's time to have an institution, which is a school, and the commercial was done very beautiful. I had to give him credit. Whoever did the commercial was very insightful, in depth. And as it began, people will start throwing their money. Now, at times, he think that because of the notoriety, the presence, he put himself throughout social media, YouTube, for roughly over 4 years after being on Darwin Yusro's platform back in 2010. That he thinks that he has the leverage enough that the minute you say, all right, it's time for nation building. I'm searching for a school. I found one. I need y'all to give me so dollars. He think that within that commercial, within less than a week, the black community is going to supply him the money needed in one swoop to buy the school. And we all know how black people operate. We don't move like that, unfortunately. Now, if you're a celebrity, you might get that money. But if you're just a regular Joe, besides having a social media presence, that's not going to work in the same favor like everybody else. The outcome is going to be different.
Right.
And remember, he was very frustrated. He one time, cussed out a few people, but I get it.
Yeah, he had some, tested, moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, I get it, man. To me, I don't even watch Umar videos, interviews with different people, and I understand this happened. I stopped watching the videos, man, because the videos to me were repetitive, the same regurgitated questions, softball questions. He talking about to me at this point, man. I am Umar Johnson interviews. I didn't even watch the full video of his interview with the Breakfast Club. He's done it. He's participated in at least 5 or 6 interviews, and it's all the same type of stuff. So it's a person in my position who has been, done Umar content since 17, really did it heavy towards the end of 18, and then definitely 19, where I kind of became this Umar person that was a huge supporter of Umar on YouTube. and was demonized for such, content. I mean, he's not saying anything to me. The only thing I'm interested now is about the school opening. All this extra stuff, I'm not interested in his take on entertainers and politics. I just strictly want to know, unless he may talk about some Pan African stuff, I may be interested in that, or the fact that, hey, this is what's going on with the school. So he did an interview, I think a month ago, or maybe the end of November, early December,
Yeah.
where he actually talked about the school potentially opening in the end of February. He talked about the HVAC and other different things inside the school being taken care of. Those are the things I'm interested in. I'm only interested in anything that talks about the operation of the school
Mm-hmm.
and etc. That's where I'm at. So, um, that's where I'm at with that.
All right, let's keep going. Furious enough.
Sure.
True to what you were talking about as far as the overall outcomes for Black boys. I'm a school social worker in Atlanta. From Charleston, but I work in Atlanta as a school social worker. So very true. I'm curious to know, how is your school going to combat those issues that Black boys have to go through in the regular school system?
Well, the main problem that Black boys have is the white teachers in the classroom. That's the main issue. Curriculum can be better, but that's not why they're failing. More money could be spent on their education, but that's not why they're failing. Okay, they're failing because the person responsible for their education is not a natural stakeholder in their success. Most teachers in America are white, and they are white women, and they are racist, and they are hostile white women. I mean, it was a report that came out from the United States Department of Education just a few years ago that showed Black boys in kindergarten were being suspended and expelled from school at rates higher than white boys in high school. What can a Black boy at 6 years old do that would warrant a worse punishment than a white boy of a similar offense in high school? So clearly these white women are hostile. We as a people should have never sent our children into these desegregated schools without Black teachers to accompany them. When we go back to 54 and we look at the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision, one of the mistakes that we made as a community was when they desegregated the schools, they did not desegregate the teaching ranks. You understand, the Black teachers from the Black community did not accompany our children into those white schools. So our children walk into enemy territory without anyone who loved them to be there to protect them. And that was a big mistake we made. You never send your children into enemy territory without some of their own people to look out for them. And as a result of that, we saw our greatest drop in Black teachers within the profession from 1954 to 1974, because white schools would not hire them. They didn't even want the children. So they definitely didn't want the teachers. The issue is the white woman. But guess what? She's the most privileged person in this society. And whenever we have conversations about the failure of Black boys, mysteriously, she's always left off of the list of causes. She's never on the list. It's always income. It's gangster rap. It's incarcerated fathers. It's poverty. It's unwed mothers. It's poor educational finance. It's weak curriculum. It's old textbooks. It's never the white racist woman in front of the classroom. And so, I don't care what you change in the schools. I don't care what you change. Until you get rid of her and give Black boys strong Black male teachers, the academic achievement rates will never go up.
Oh, certainly.
Let me stop right there. And let me
And I agree with that.
Let me announce the chat. What's good, everybody? As you know, y'all come in the building. You know the deal. Hit that like button, share. And let it go one wildfire through the so-called algorithm. I see Alonso in the building. I see Carl77. Good afternoon. And like Jay Shine said, poor Blacks, but it's not heaven for Black business. Yes. And my good friend Charles Faulkner Jr. Yes. Why they are failing is because their parents not teaching them. Yes, and it's a two-way street. Parents had to put enough input after school as well. I totally agree with Charles on that. Even as far as if you think about it, with the white teachers, yeah, they are a problem because, and let's be honest, we all know how mothers are. They have more sympathy if it's their own. They treated them like their own children, especially their likeness. That's just a fact. Now there might be some non-black women that might care for a few black children here and there, but as a whole, nah. You get me? Because we always got to think this is competition, this is warfare. You get me? How I'm gonna
Right.
favor you?
Now, I like to speak to something because
All right, go ahead.
I wish he would have went into depth with the reason there was a drop in black teachers in the community, and to me, this was part of the blame of the teachers themselves. Um,
Okay.
what occurred between 54 and 74 is that at one time you could teach in the United States without having a college degree, and
Oh, I didn't
so
know that. I didn't know that.
yeah, a large percentage of black teachers did not have a college degree. So when desegregation occurred, the white power structure understood that. So what happened was, due to the fact that most black teachers are a large percentage, I don't know exactly what the percentage was, but I know particularly in the South and a lot of rural areas and poor areas throughout the South and the East Coast and et cetera, that was a large percentage. I would say most black teachers did not have a college degree. And so when desegregation was fully implemented in the 70s, particularly really starting in the 60s, but definitely implemented in the 70s, a lot of those teachers were not qualified to provide that, to be a certified teacher. So as a consequence of that, a lot of black teachers who probably were great at their job and had experience, they were no longer qualified to provide that job duty. So they could not operate under that title to being a teacher. So we found that there was a large percentage of African American females who were now unemployed and they had to find other jobs. I personally know several black women growing up in a small rural town in Louisiana. I knew of at least two or three African American women who once were teachers and they had to find other lines of work due to the fact that when desegregation was implemented, they could no longer teach because they didn't have a college degree. They taught for years with just a high school diploma. So I just wanted to highlight that because we got to understand that when these people write laws, they find ways to filter us out. You know, it's almost every law that is written to benefit us. That's particularly with desegregation and other different things. There's always a way that there's a catch-22 to everything that can, if black people don't be proactive in seeking training, education, or some certification or something, they will filter you out. And that was their way of filtering out black teachers, even to the detriment of a lot of white teachers who didn't have a college degree. They don't care. And so Umar correct, but I just wanted to give a little bit give more of an illustration of what technically occurred within that law, as that was white people were okay with high school educated teachers, but they were not okay with having with having high school educated black teachers. So they filtered them out. And that's basically what occurred with that. And also, and I know people are talking about they want to blame parents. Yes, there is an issue as it involves black parents and parenting their children and the lack of black fathers in the home or whatever relationship issues with the co-parenting and so forth. But also with that, it should be outlawed that you criminalize kids' behavior at school unless they used, to me, extreme violent means in that school environment. See, you shouldn't have to go to court just because two 12-year-olds fighting you got to pay a $500 fine to a judge and possibly get put in juvenile detention if this continues. See, these zero tolerance laws and all these different things, you criminalize. This is what's called, this is when we talk about the school to prison pipeline. The school to prison pipeline exists because they're criminalizing kids for being kids at an extreme level of doing certain things. And you're criminalizing them as if they're doing this out in the community or in some other environment. So the easiest way to get these kids into the prison populations or into the prison pipeline is to criminalize them as adolescents. And so this, as far as kids getting suspended and expelled, yes, black boys are at a high level of that. And also black girls are also suspended at a much higher level when it's in comparison to other girls. So this is a function of the fact that we have allowed our kids to be put in these environments which actually put them at risk. And I guarantee you this. Mm-hmm. And I saw this in the profession because I work indirectly with a lot of school districts. I deal with kids who are in alternative schools. You know what happened when COVID occurred? That was the decline in all of this stuff. There was a decline in kids getting arrested. There was a decline in revenue that they were getting from the court system. Mm-hmm. Okay? There was a decline in African American boys getting into the system. And the mere fact is that they went at school because the school was actually the environment that fueled all of the dysfunction as it involves them getting put and placed into these into juvenile detention and whatever else that comes out of that. Suspensions and expulsions. And they were primarily going to school online because they were basically getting a better education at home without having to deal with all of the environmental things that happen within a school. Mm-hmm. And so my position after looking at that, because I know for a fact, because business went down with me actually providing services for these kids because they wasn't getting in trouble. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with our kids not getting in trouble, and even if it means me losing, I'm fine. I can find business elsewhere. But that was an indication that the school should not be a place that puts you at risk of being placed in the criminal justice system. It's supposed to be a place of learning, a place of development. But when you're looked at a certain way, you're perceived a certain way because of the environment you grew up in, how you look, and how you act and so forth. And I'm going to be honest, I grew up in an environment where I only had 3 black teachers. My whole high school, middle school, elementary, kindergarten, I only had 3 black teachers. So I witnessed and experienced this firsthand, the apathy of white teachers towards black students. I seen that firsthand, and I have always questioned that. So I know what it feels like. I know how it feels to see blatant racism from teachers. I've seen the difference, and the older I became, the more aware of it as far as how white teachers interact with white students as opposed to black students. And I'm gonna give you an example.
Okay.
As a black student, it was very rare that a teacher would ask me about how were you and your family at home? What did you all do? Did you go to church? Did you go do this? But you know what happened with the white kids? Oh, so-and-so, did y'all kill the deer this weekend? Did y'all go squirrel hunting? Did y'all, do this? And did you attend, most white people in Louisiana are Catholic. Did you attend mass on Saturday? Those were the conversations and the interactions that white teachers, they would have very kind of, unrelated to the education. They would have very neighborhood-like exchanges with these kids that were white, they would never have those discussions. Very rarely did I see them have those discussions with black students. Now, if black teachers were if black teachers were in the fold, um, those type of interactions, which increases the bond and comfortability between the student and the teacher, that would have occurred. But I had two black teachers in elementary, and both of those black teachers had very similar ways of functioning with black students and white students. And I didn't have another black teacher. I think my last black teacher was in the 4th grade. I didn't have another black teacher till I was in the 10th grade. So I was 6 whole years. I'm just being honest. So I understand the outcomes of the outcomes of desegregation. I understand why we fought for it, because it was about access. But in getting that access, there were other dynamics that was not looked at. And the reason why it was passed is so that they could have control of black intelligence.
That is the end game, and that was the whole purpose of integrating the schools. But before integrating the schools, like before this happened in the 50s, we all know the military was integrated first,
right?
And I think it was around the same time in the 50s. I could be wrong, because I think it was Eisenhower was still in office at the time, and he saw what happened in World War II with the Germans. And he didn't want what happened here in America. So he had to make a executive decision, say, I'm going to have to start integrating these people. Matter of fact, I think that was the reason why he had to now decide, so now we got to move towards integration now. Personally.
Yeah, because they needed us.
Yeah, go ahead.
They needed us to have certain functions. They needed us to fight those. That was a need for black people to fight these wars. And we did a great job at it. So that was a benefit. And so I get it why, and this is what drew me to Umar in the first place, because me and Umar have done similar things. We're in similar professions. I mean, he worked as a school psychologist. He has a doctoral degree in psychology, working in mental health. I work in mental health. I've contracted with schools. A lot of my early career was in schools. From 1999, when I graduated and got into the field, and up until 2003, I was in the schools probably over 50% of the time.
Yeah,
and so I understand what he was saying, and I understand the issues of as he talked about ADHD, conduct disorder, oppositional defiance, the emotional disorder thing, or the emotional related label. That's more of a school term. That's not necessarily a DSM term, a label. But I get it. That's what drew to me, because I'm looking at the work. But unfortunately, the persona of Umar overshadows a lot of the work, and that has, it's been a detriment to the cause.
All right, let me keep playing. I'll probably do maybe 30 minutes of this. I want to get halfway through this. Fair use and fact.
And I will say, while you were saying all that, it made me think of a time when I was in school. And it's strange, it's crazy. I had a white guidance counselor, and this fella really came into the room. It was me and a couple other, black fellas that were in the classroom, and he told us a statistic of saying, at the time he said 1 in every 4 black boys in the class, or whatever it was, would be going or be incarcerated. And I never thought, at the time, I didn't think nothing of it. But now, as I get older, I'm thinking, why would you feel the need to come in there and tell us a statistic such as 1 out of the 4, every 4 of us is going to end up being incarcerated, instead of you trying to, like you said moments ago, try to preach positivity and try to tell us different paths of different things to do, instead of you telling us what's the worst case scenario where we're going to end up at. Because, a lot of people don't realize that at a young age, a lot of stuff gets internalized. Like that moment, it's crazy. I even remember it. But the fact that I remember it just lets me know that it bothered me subconsciously. It might not have been on the surface, but it stuck with me because I still remember it to this day. It didn't make any sense to me, and I remember when he said it, and I just looked at him, and it just didn't process. But the older I get, it just makes more sense that he was out of line. He should have never said it. He should have just been more positive about everything. And most definitely, I will say that is one of the moments in my life that definitely drive me to do better. Because I'm not just a statistic. You're not going to say I'm going to possibly end up here. I said I don't want to hear that. I don't hear these numbers. You're not going to put me in a box.
So I definitely understand where both of y'all are coming from. I guess my mind is going to, well, what options do parents have right now? Because there aren't a lot of your schools that exist right now. And just like you said, the number of Black educators have decreased over time. And we have to send kids to school. So then what would be the other option other than, I guess, building them up in the home? But that can only do but so much.
See, the issue that we have as a people, whether we're dealing with education, whether we're dealing with economics, whether we're dealing with politics, we are allergic to building our own institutions. Black people want no responsibility whatsoever for the reconstruction of Black America. We will talk about reparations all day long because it requires somebody else to do something for us. The solution is we have to build our own schools. Black people better understand something and understand it real quick. America is through doing anything for Black folks. Although they never did, they at least gave the impression of doing something. Now they are blatantly and unapologetically making it clear, as you've seen with President Biden's behavior, as you've seen with President Trump's behavior, as you've seen with President Obama's behavior. America is through acting like it cares about Black people. And if we're going to save our children, we're going to have to build our own schools. I mean, we spend $30 billion on beauty products, more than any other group in the country. You know, we spend $2 billion on Air Jordans, $4 billion on liquor. McDonald's gets $1 billion from Black people every year. Children's cologne is about 20 million. We spend 800 million on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork every year as a people. We are literally making Koreans rich every day, building their institutions. We're making Chinese rich every day, building their institutions. We're making Latinos and Arabs and East Indians, Anglo-Saxons and Jews rich, building their institutions. Why is it so easy for us to other people's empowerment, but we don't want to donate to our own? See, there's Band-Aids and then there's solutions. Mm-hmm. Anything that you do to try to fix education while it is controlled by white people is a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid. The solution is your own schools. White people don't care about Black people, and they damn sure don't care about Black boys. Everybody knows this, especially us. But rather than come together and use our money to give our children the opportunity they deserve, we rather keep on buying Christmas gifts, keep on buying Easter gifts, keep on having 4th of July parties, keep on having New Year's Eve parties, keep on wasting our money on vacations and useless merchandise and things of that nature. One of the reasons people do not feel sympathy for American Africans, one of the reasons globally people do not feel sympathy for us is we have the money to fix our own problem. Now, there's still some things we have to fight. We still have to fight criminal justice because we're not allowed to have our own criminal justice system. So there are certain systems we have to fight. But when you look at education, this country gives everybody the right to build their own schools. You can build your own schools, and we will not do it. Because although white people don't care about Black children, Black people don't care too much more about Black children either. I'm not speaking about our own children in our homes. I'm speaking collectively of the children in our communities. We don't care about them. And that's why these young Black men are in our city centers, tearing them down. They're robbing our elders. They're disrespecting our mothers. They're killing each other. Why? Most of these crimes go out of economic desperation, and economic desperation that would not be there if Black people had their own schools training our young men in how to be plumbers and electricians and roofers and welders and auto mechanics and carpenters.
To let you know that they took them out of the school system for the last 20 more years. Just a
They
side
sure
note.
did. They took the trades out because you know why?
Yeah.
The reason why is because a lot of those carpenters, plumbers, a lot of those were black.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yes,
I did not know that.
yes, there was a reason for that. Because a lot of they took them out because we not only were they black, we were probably the best at that in those industries. We were the better mechanic, we were the better plumber, we were the better carpenter. And welding and all that other stuff. We were better at it and we were more proficient. And particularly in the South, if you wanted a good carpenter or a good plumber, you probably had a black man doing it. But because what happened was when we were the best farmers, when we were doing all the farming and agriculture, a lot of the people who came from that background, they took up trades. And those were the things that they were involved in. They took those trades out of urban centers, and they told you to go to college. Okay, that was the con game. Yeah, you need to go to college. To me, listen, I got two college degrees.
Before we continue, I gotta make a side note.
Sure.
I have my own issue with college. I express it countless. Maybe not on my channel specifically. I have content on it, which you guys got to go back. I have too much. I have almost 500 videos right now on YouTube. But before doing content on YouTube, I have talked about this on Blog Talk Radio and other outlets a few years in advance on my views on college. And as I conclude, it is a scam, as we see it, and it's been a scam now for over 50 years now. And the reason why I conclude because the way I have entry level of college, even when they were promoted back in the 60s when Judge Brown was around, is you got to understand only few people can get in because there was certain entry. Now that when you try to open it up a little bit, now it diminishes it. So now that they see that if you promote it, because now when you have more of a surplus, now you have to fill entry of jobs. If every American goes to college today, the job market today, and a lot of people gonna think it's wrong, would tank.
Right.
So now you gotta have many things that if people are not qualified to say to even go to college or don't make it and they drop out, where is the next step they can go to? Now, high school prepares you for basic necessities for life. But as we go from the 70s onto just touching the 80s and beginning of the 90s, that's when you they start trying to pull away these things out of high schools across the country. And now you have to go pay money to these certain sectors. Right. Like Lincoln Tech, the ones in Houston, some of these these unaccredited institutions, some that's good, some bad, but they gotta make you have to go spend money.
Right.
And put you maybe in debt just to hopefully qualify to get work.
Right.
So, like I said, everything works in a capitalist system. So I'm not saying college bad, but but I'm just continue. At
one time, like I said, there were a lot of black men who were basically graduating out of high school and getting jobs to take care of a family at an early age. Notice, and you look at as far as people getting married, notice that there are a lot of people, black people were getting married at a far earlier age back in previous generations as opposed to now. Black people are waiting a lot longer to get married. But back in the 60s, 70s, and even the early 80s, black people were getting married at a lot younger age. One of the reasons because a lot of the men had those certifications in trades to take care of a family. So this is, so that there's an economic influence to that. And so these guys were going to high schools, particularly in a lot of decently funded high schools that had these trades. They were graduating out of high school, getting mechanic jobs. They were getting plumbing jobs. They were getting welding jobs. They were getting all these type of certifications, the air conditioning, the AC techs and all that stuff. They were getting jobs in those areas. And when they took that out and they forced you to have to go to these technical colleges, which by the way ain't cheap either. You talk about college is more expensive, but those technical schools, those trade schools, they were not cheap either. Some of those schools cost a pretty nice chunk of change to get into, even if they were for a year or two. That wasn't free either. So you went from getting a free certification in high school to now having to go to a trade school or a technical school in order to get that training, which costs you money. That was it's all economic driven. And what they found out is that why are we giving these Negroes this training for free when we could actually make money off of creating institutions and make them pay $10,000, $15,000 for a year or two to get this certification. Remember, this is capitalism. So that's my perspective on it. So Umar has talked about how his school would have resources to provide some of these trainings and certifications. That is yet to be seen until we actually get the school up and running and see where it goes and how it's funded. So that's yet to be seen. Brother, you there?
Yeah, 1 second. Keep talking.
Okay. So I get it. I get it, guys. I mean, like I said, I'm only interested. I'm only interested in the opening of the school, establishing the operation in full scale, so that people can attend the school, the people you're providing jobs to be the teachers, the administrators. That's what I'm interested in. All this other stuff like this interview, they're talking about all these different things. None of that will do anything towards opening the school. We've been there and done this already. I've seen enough videos on this. It's basically same regurgitation of information. You can compare Umar videos from the last 6 months to a year, and I guarantee you, almost all of those videos are almost the same. There's not a lot of difference in it. Outside of him giving an update on the school. And that's the only thing I'm interested in. So, but I get it. People that may not know Umar for the first time or whatever, which he's highly known on YouTube and social media, they'll learn about him for the first time. So, I mean, I get it. But it's nothing new. The information he's giving is nothing new.
Yeah. All right. Hello, Rainer Woman. How you doing? Long time no see. Hello. All right. Let me continue running this. Fair use and effect. Like I said, Omar's saying some very important things, so let's keep listening.
Sure.
The skills that pay the bills. If you want to stop violence in the Black community, it starts by preparing these young men in the skills that pay the bills. Black America wants none of the responsibility for solving its own problems.
Dr. Umar, I was just curious to know, I know you did mention earlier when you did discuss that being the blame for some of the issues that are, arising in schools or being used as, a scapegoat per se. And I was curious to know, the N-word does come up in a lot of music. And I know, why do we call each other the N-word, but get vehemently upset with a white person when they use the N-word? Why is
We're the only people in human history, the only people who have fought for the right to use a racially pejorative term in order to refer to one another. No other group has ever fought for the right to use a word that has systemically been used to dehumanize them and fight for the right to protect it, preserve it, and use it with one another. It speaks to internalized racism and the psychological residuals of slavery. Psychologically speaking, most American Africans are European. They're fully European consciously. They may be physically African, they may be culturally African, but most of us are psychologically European. And because we have internalized the racism that has been practiced against us for half a millennium now, most of us don't even recognize. We're totally unconscious of the self-hate that we have. Even when you look at the jokes that a lot of our popular comedians have made about slavery, you have never seen a Jewish comedian, make light of the Jewish Holocaust. You've never seen that at all. You have never seen the comedians of other communities make light of some of the worst experiences that the people have had to endure. Black comedians regularly trivialize and undercut and undermine slavery by making a mockery of it. We are literally Europeans trapped inside of Black bodies. And that's why I always say, either the European is going to kill us, or we're going to have to kill the European inside of us in order to get free. But both of them cannot survive. The Negro will die, so the African will live, or the African will die, so the Negro can stay alive.
I mean, I agree. When I was younger, I didn't want to say the N-word, and I didn't want to be called the N-word just because I felt like you can't erase history, no matter how you try to flip it or make it sound better and put a spin on it. But as an adult, it doesn't bother me as much if another Black person is saying that within their conversation, but it would make sense to me why someone would be upset if a non-Black person says it, because everybody understands that other racial slurs are like, we can't say them. It's an issue. But for some reason, there's always a debate about the N-word and who can say it and who cannot. And that piece of it, I don't understand.
Well, nobody should be saying it. That's the point. And the reason why it cannot be made, quote unquote, illegal, as Joe Biden did with the anti-Asian hate executive order that he signed, he made it a federal crime to use a racial slur against an Asian. Okay, but they never made it a federal crime to use a racial slur against an African American. But a lot of that is our fault. You can't expect your oppressor to care more about you than you do, you know? And so as a result of that, as long as Black people want to keep that word alive, and as long as Black people want to use it as some sort of badge of pride, then white people will also be able to make use of it as well. In fact, we've even seen Black celebrities defend the use of the N-word by white celebrities. I remember several years ago when Eminem was caught in some old records that he had made where he was disrespecting Black women significantly and using the N-word. Jay-Z came to his defense. I remember when one of the basketball players with the Villanova Wildcats, the last year they won the national NCAA Division I basketball championship, they had a white player by the name of Dante DiVincenzo, and he was caught using the N-word in a rap that he had, and Stephen A. Smith came to his defense. You will never, ever see a European Jew come to the defense of anybody who uses a racial slur against them. You won't see it in the Hispanic community, the Asian community, or anywhere else. Only Black people accept that type of treatment, and only Black people engage in that type of treatment because, again, we have internalized the racism that has been used against us.
Right. And I know you did mention a few names there. And I was curious to know, what qualifies a person to be a coon per se?
The coon and the Negro, those are two different people, related and similar, but different in terms of their threat to the Black community. A Negro is innocent in his or her ignorance. They think white people are better. They think Jesus is white. They think Black people can solve their problems. They think white people have all the answers. They think that multiculturalism is the way to go because they don't know any better. So the Negro suffers from ignorance. He or she has not received a proper political education. But the coon knows better. The coon knows what the solutions are. The coon knows that white people are a threat to Black survival, but they will act as if they don't know in order to fulfill their own personal agenda. So the coon is dangerous because he volunteers to betray his people, whereas the Negro does so by accident. Supreme Court Justice Colin Powell.
Okay.
He recently said that he does not know what the word diversity means. He went on record to say that. Here's a man who benefited from every.
I did not know Colin Powell that said that. That's new. But I get it.
You mean Thurman Thomas?
I think that's what said Colin Powell. Yeah,
Colin Powell's not on the Supreme. Is not a Supreme Justice.
or you might be talking. He's talking about somebody. I'm not going to.
He's talking about. Talking about Thurman Thomas. I mean, Supreme Justice Thomas may have said that. You probably misspoke on that.
Yeah, I think so. And let me read the chat room because I see some people wrote some comments. I'm acknowledged, as you know, Rain Woman is here. Let y'all know. Hey, self-hatred. And one thing Rain Woman said, I wouldn't entrust my tree roach with Umar Johnson. My God. And Jay Sean writes, Omar's talking crazy. The Negro helped his family get to America. Yeah. Oh yeah. Let me keep going. Fair use and effect.
Diversity program the U.S. government offered to Black people. And the minute he gets into a position of influence, only the second Black to ever sit on that bench, and he says he doesn't know what diversity means. That is a coon. He knows that what he's doing is working against the best interests of Black people, and he does it anyway in order to curry favor with the white power structure and his white wife, who happens to be George Bush's first cousin.
Oh, wow.
Justin, I was going to say, and I guess it's pretty much what Dr. Umar is saying. To me, a coon is just somebody who is anti-Black. Like, they're Black, but they're anti-Black. And in my opinion, we've talked about him before on the show. I feel like more recently, Kanye West has displayed some anti-Black activities by certain things that he has said over the past few years. But that's just my opinion.
Right, and you are entitled to your opinion, of course. Like I said, he did come out. He apologized for the things that he did say. I understand it doesn't sit well with others, but he did come out and did apologize for things that he did say, and that's what I will say on that.
I appreciate Kanye for the courage to speak truth to the Jewish power structure. I appreciated the fact that he's the first Black man in quite some time to publicly expose the European Jewish control of Black entertainers and remain unapologetic in his position, even when he lost billions of dollars. I don't know of another Black celebrity who risked losing that type of money in the face of speaking the truth about Jewish racism. Michael Jackson did it, but Michael Jackson was no longer in his prime. The closest would be Muhammad Ali. And although I don't think he was a billionaire at that time, he was definitely one of the most successful and one of the wealthiest Black athletes at the time. So I would say Muhammad Ali, and then I would probably have to put Kanye right in back, but I would not put him in the same category because Muhammad Ali was doing what he was doing on behalf of the Black community. He didn't feel that Black men should be forced to fight in a war in defense of people who don't defend them. Whereas Kanye West's expose on the Jewish hypocrisy situation was more about simply telling the truth about Jews, but he has never graduated to telling the truth about white supremacy. And as I study Kanye, he seems to be very careful.
He can't because he's fully embedded into it. He's all in the bosom of the supremacy. Oh yes, and he's going. Yeah, matter of fact, I think the word on the streets he got married to one of his co-workers that's I think is Caucasian.
Kanye married another white woman.
I believe so.
Yep.
But at least he's moving on because usually he was all bitch and complain about Kim and what he's doing with the kids. I say, listen, dude, be a good part-time father, co-parent and keep him going. And hell, Kim said, at times if he spent a little bit more time, this wouldn't happen. I guess that's what happened. The minute when she said I want a divorce, now he upset. Let me buy a house close where they're at. I said, wait, where was all this?
Man, I don't. He probably won't be. I give that marriage 2 years. I guarantee you, in 2 to 3 years, that he gonna be divorced again.
You think so?
Why? Yes, that shit ain't gonna last.
Mm.
Those guys always randomly, man. I don't see how. I don't see, man. These entertainers are the worst representation of black people, man.
Yeah.
We should not be idolizing anything they do because number one, they don't do a lot for the community. They don't do much.
Yeah.
They don't. Not only do they move out of the hood, they care less to do anything to support the hood. You know,
That's
so then to me, they're not worth following,
mm-hmm.
and they want you to spend your dollar supporting them. So that's basically how I feel about him. He basically, um, he got some mental health problems. He got other in-depth issues with the family and the stuff with that. But he chose that life. He married this lady, and this is what it is. I mean, I guess he thought by marrying a new person that's not gonna change anything. I don't think it will.
Mm-hmm.
You're really gonna go into it making the same mistakes that you were making in the previous relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just my estimation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because he has in depth issues that no matter who you marry, you gonna have these problems staying with. So that's just my perspective.
Yeah, and I think, and Jay Shine wrote here, and he did correct us. Clarence Thomas, yes, that's him.
Yeah, Clarence Thomas. Yeah.
Kanye likes white coffee with white cream. Yeah, that sweet cream, sweet cream. And then stop hating.
Yeah, he is good. Is great rhetoric, great entertainment, but what does it have to do with the school?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. Fair use and effect.
And making sure he don't alienate other groups of white people. So he's really not a prophet of black pride or consciousness per se. He's simply about exposing the truth of the European Jewish cartel while at the same time being careful to curry favor with other groups of white people. And that's why I cannot consider him a black activist, a black leader, a black organizer, or even a black spokesman, because he has yet to definitively and unashamedly say that I'm representing my people. He says he represents his fans. He represents his followers. He has never said he represents black people as a prioritized group. And that's why I have to stop short of endorsing him as someone that our children could look up to. He has a little bit more to show. And in dealing with billionaires in general, and of course I had this conversation with Charlemagne and DJ Envy a few weeks ago in New York City, I haven't seen a black billionaire do anything of significance for black people in my entire lifetime. I've never seen Oprah do anything of significance. I haven't seen Jay-Z do anything of significance. I haven't seen LeBron James or Sean Puffy Combs or Bob Johnson do anything of significance. There's no black billionaire in America yet who has built a single relevant institution in the black community. They give handouts, they give their opinions on social issues, but they don't do anything. And unfortunately, we as black people are also at fault. It's not just the celebrities and the entertainers, but as a community, we have also gotten very comfortable not doing anything. There's no more activism in the black community. There is a lot of posturing. There's a lot of social media gesturing, but there's very little all black activism in the black community. We have traded in organization for information, and that was a mistake because information is not going to save you. Putting the information into action is what's going to save you. The big difference between our generation, the black consciousness era, and the 1960s and 70s is the fact that they didn't have
God damn, he still got that Notorious B.I.G. ringtone. God damn. Then one time he got messed up one time when he said he was on the phone and it said it ring automatically as he
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and
exactly.
everybody said, God damn, that see, that's what exposed these dudes, man. I mean, I'm gonna continue playing. I'm gonna play. Fair use, please.
A lot of the information we have access to everything
Yeah.
about the Black experience, but we do nothing. They didn't have that access. H. Rat Brown and Stokely Carmichael, Malcolm and Medgar and Martin and Huey and George and Jonathan Jackson and Fred Hampton, Fannie Lou Hamer. They didn't have access to the information we have, but they were far more active than we have ever been.
I wonder if that's because the Black people who are billionaires and also celebrities are afraid of cancel culture or being blackballed in some kind of way, and so they don't feel like they can truly operate in like pro-Blackness. But that, I mean, that may be a possibility. Not that it's a good excuse, but I feel like that could definitely play a role in it.
Or you know, Black people when they're talking to other Black people will say, "I'm pro-Black." I was just curious to know, you know, why is that?
Absolutely. Let me first say to the sister's point, we don't need our millionaires and billionaires to be considered pro-Black.
Mm-hmm.
We need them to engage in progressive behavior that benefits Black people. Jewish celebrities don't run around saying they're pro-Jewish. They just take care of their community. You know, they don't need to advertise it. They don't have to put on a red, black, and green wristband. You know what needs to be done because you come from the ghetto yourself. All of you are first or second generation millionaires. Just do what needs to be done. That's all we need from them. And they're not even doing that because they're selfish. Okay, they are extremely selfish. There was a Jewish celebrity who was interviewed not too long ago, and he compared Jewish celebrities and Black celebrities.
Before we continue, I know people are coming in and out, watching, jumping. As y'all watch and give me your time and respect, like always, I appreciate it. Always, you know, if you have not hit the like button, please hit it. Likes are free last time I checked. Don't be stingy. Don't be scared. Don't be that person. Hit that like button or share or whatever, you know, spread the word. As you know, this is something to really evaluate and be honest with this conversation. Now, I know most people, a lot of men are getting their fees when Omar opened his mouth about the Black collective and Black people's issues, Black women and especially Black men, especially Black men. And we got to keep in mind that he has an audience that do pays him and his bills, unfortunately. And because of this, he's only loyal to who pays him. As much as a lot of people don't want to hear this, but I'm just going to keep it real with you, people. So let's keep going. You have anything to say, DR, before he goes into the comparison between?
Oh, no, not at this moment.
All right, good. All right, let's see his comparison. Fair use, in effect.
He said we're completely different. He said the Jewish celebrities, we use our money to benefit the Jewish community. All of us do. We are expected to do it, and we do it. And he said Black celebrities never do that. He said you can hardly ever find the Black celebrity doing something meaningful, not giving out turkeys, not donating basketball courts, not giving out sneakers, but building institutions. You can hardly find a Black celebrity who does that. And I don't want to single out the celebrity and demonize them because they're just a reflection of the rest of us. Most of us are not interested in sacrificing for the Black community. Like I always say, I would never expect a billionaire to sacrifice billions when the people on the bottom won't even sacrifice thousands. How dare we expect them to donate billions when we won't even donate hundreds? The people on the bottom has to initiate the change, and then the billionaires will come in later. Take my school. I haven't had a single donation. And I know plenty of celebrities. They come to my lectures. They meet me backstage. We talk on the phone. I know plenty of celebrities, and I'm not talking about at the bottom. I'm talking about at the tippity top. I know them. They know me. They call me. I call them. But none of them have yet to donate. Once the school is up and running, I suspect that some of them may try to sneak a little money over to the FDMG Academy, but because the risk is so great for them, they first have to see that you are serious before they commit themselves. You see. Now, to your question about pro-black to me, that word in and of itself speaks directly to the fact that most of us are anti-black. Most of us operate like Europeans. Most of us suffer the psychological residuals of slavery. Most of us are internalized Europeans who suffer from internalized racism. No other group has to designate members of its own in-group as pro-group. Who does that? If you belong to a fraternity and you're a Kappa or a Q, you don't have to say I'm pro-Kappa. I'm a Kappa. That automatically means I'm pro-Kappa. If you go to the church and you're a Methodist, you don't have to say I'm a pro-Methodist. If you are a Methodist, it is expected and assumed that you're going to look out for the church. If you are a Latino, you don't have to say I'm pro-Latino. As a member, by virtue of your membership, it is expected that you will be an advocate for the group. Only with Black people. This speaks to the unique influence that slavery has had on our psychological development and our political thought. Only Black people have to be designated as being an advocate for his or her own people. And the reason they have to designate you with a pro in front of your Blackness speaks to the fact that most Black people are anti-Black. If I have to designate you as pro, if I have to single you out as pro-Black, that automatically means that the norm is for us to not be pro-Black, which is to be pro-white.
I don't think the
Any objection? Any pushback to that?
I totally agree. Theoretically speaking, me and Umar have way more in common. He speaks from a Pan-African mindset, and I concur with him on pretty much 95% of what he talks about. As far as his approach to life, our status as African people, as far as the term as it relates to pro-black, I think from my position, which is not talked about, is that black. I'm looking at being pro-black, not necessarily using people who go under that facade on YouTube. My experience for pro-black people is more in line with what I've experienced outside of these YouTube streets per se. So there has to be a distinction between those who claim to be pro-black online versus those who are really doing the work in the community. So I know of people who really do the work in the community. So I kind of get how people look at these pro-blacks online and the buffoonery that they engage in, including Umar, some of his antics. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
So I get people being somewhat skeptical of when people call themselves pro-black and why and so on because of the kind of things that they do and the things that they engage in. But things as it relates to um, pro-blacks outside of YouTube, outside of social media, who really do the work. And unfortunately, the people who are really, really loyal to our people are usually older, generational pro-blacks who were like, to me, 55 years, 60 years on up. A lot of the people, let's say middle age, around my age and younger, they're not necessarily as loyal as the older, as the elders. To me, the elders are the heart of the pro-black community, from my position.
I remember there were many books. One particularly written by Amos Wilson. Yeah, I could say it's one of my favorite. Second to Frances Cress Welsing, because she only wrote one book, and there are probably other psychologists, black psychologists, and even the one that wrote Black Skin, White Mask by Franz Fanon, another old psychologist from Grenada, I think. They always said that how we think and operate, we had to conclude that we got our behavior from these people because we were groomed and raised by these race of people for centuries. So because that, even the essence of thinking about blackness to typical Negroes in the 21st century, it is foreign and taboo because they know in an environment that is really anti-black. And personally, they have to be opposite. No, they cannot be opposite because they got the features, the skin, everything. So you can't be there's in life there's choices, Deidre, and you can't say I want to be this and not this. Life doesn't hand us that in a environment, especially a first world nation that's predominantly 81% non-black.
Right.
They're gonna always see you as black. Now, no one said that you gotta say black power and all this nonsense. No. You should be the embodiment of not only you speak it, but you should be taking the actions for your own best interests, men and women.
Right.
Now, as you know, you hear from a lot of dudes say, "I'm a man, I cannot be this." I'm always gonna be a black man, yes, but my female counterpart, she always gonna think that if she does not, she'll always have some acceptance under that Zaddy's table, and there is no acceptance under this table. Never.
Right.
So she's no different from you, unfortunately. She's trying to fight that that unicorn to be some of whiteness. Well, she cannot. Same thing your black ass. You can't fight this of whiteness. That's why when I find these little hippies they put on black men, like these articles like black man or the white man, all this dumb shit, everybody knows you are not fucking white. So the persona thing that you're gonna behave opposite, people gotta really come back to reality and say, but who trained, who teach you? What language you speak? What actual behaviors you take? You are the embodiment of these people in black skin. And much times you don't want to fight it and beat this, but what result is going to happen to a race of people that's been going through their institutions, eating the foods, behaving differently, but still trying to behave like that? Hell, one time, even with some of our children, one time, you never seen black folks, kids especially, do skateboarding. Now you see it now for the last over more than like close to 20 years. But it was foreign to us. But as you fully integrate and assimilate more into the society because they're trying to bleach you out and absorb you, you're going to be more the embodiment of them within every generation after integration. This is what integration is going to compel. This is what it's going to create. It's going to further make you feel that you are fully integrated into their social system. But you're not.
Right.
They're going to still run the racist games towards you because you're not them. It is what it is. It is what it is. So let's continue. Fair use and effect.
Average black person recognizes that though, and I feel like it takes self-awareness to even recognize it, but at that point only some of us are privileged enough to get to that. Like me personally, what you're speaking of this internalized racism and feeling like having an inferiority complex, I definitely had that growing up until I got to college. I took it upon myself to take African American study courses. That's when my mind starts to turn and I start to learn the things that they don't teach you.
It wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't true.
I was like, oh, okay. And so then the way that I view myself and other black people completely changed. But it took for me going to college and having access to certain materials that other people may not, or they may choose not to, read or do research on.
But that's a real thing too. Like like you said, when I got to college, same thing. Everything that was taught to me all the way up to 12th grade, and I went back and had to unlearn stuff and then relearn. And then all of a sudden, as I'm relearning, I'm starting to realize like all these names that they had in these history books, and they had them portrayed as white men. These folks are really black, and it's like, what in the world is going on here? So everything that I'm being taught all this time isn't true. And it just really makes you think, because these textbooks that they give you and they have you, oh, you need to get this right for the test. And they have these tests set up and you got to get the person's name, who discovered America, who did this, who did that, and you're sitting to yourself at our big age now. We're almost full-blown adults past 18, and we're having to unlearn and relearn certain things that were taught to us as we were going through the school system, which is just interesting to me because that's crazy. And it's wild because now we're trying to empower ourselves.
Well, remember, it's natural for any child to be happy, to be healthy, to love themselves, to be a progressive member of their community. That's normal. What we see is abnormality. And the reason we see abnormality is because we give our children to their enemies for the first 17 years of their life. The reason we have this pro-Black epidemic is because the process of public education is the process of making a Negro out of a healthy Black child. We will always be a stranger in our own bodies as long as we give our children to white people to educate them. We're the only people who systemically do that without having at least some sort of a secondary cultural education that go along with it. Chinese children also go, and Jewish children also attend public and charter schools in this country. But when they go home, they are subject to a community education where they are taught who they are as a people. The Black community has no such thing at all. And so this process of alienating the Black child from themselves is not only the groundwork for such, is not only laid early in life, is laid by Sunday school in the Black community and public school in the white power structure. The Black church has a lot to do with it because the Black church, for many of us, is often the first school. Even before you go to public school, you'd have been to church plenty of times. And in that church, number one, you're taught God is white by the imagery, even if you're not taught directly. That's number one. And number two, particularly for Black boys, Black church has a very negative effect on the development of Black masculinity because of the passive nature in which Black religion is offered, especially in the church, and because of the docile posture that is often engendered in Black men by the church. Being taught to love your enemies as opposed to defending your community has given rise to a situation where Black men can stand by and watch a white man disrespect or hurt a Black woman and not do anything about it. So we have to look at the role that our religious institutions have played in the anti-masculinity of Black males. But as far as FDMG goes, it's not so much of what we do, and we're going to do a lot that other schools have never done, but it's also as much about what we're not going to do. So our children will not be subject to menticide by way of European culture. They won't be subject to emotional abuse by way of white teachers. They won't be subject to misidentification and over-identification and premature referrals to special education because the teacher don't want to teach and the school wants to exploit them financially. They won't have to worry about the ADHD and the conduct disorder diagnoses. They don't have to worry about the classroom teacher pushing drugs in the classroom. Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, Cyclic, Metadate. Our Black parents don't have to worry about being called up, harassed, forced to take off work, come to school, pick your son up, get him out of here. They won't have to go through none of the academic terrorism that our children normally suffer from inside of the public and charter school. So that's number one. Our school culture and our school climate will be totally opposite of what our children are used to. Now, on the proactive side, we're teaching political and military science. So we're teaching our young men African martial arts. We're teaching our young men responsible use of firearms. There will be a Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Jr. gun club. We are teaching our young men modern political science. Why are so many Black men in jail? Why are so many Black women unmarried? Why Is Africa the richest continent minerally, but the people are our people are in some of the poorest conditions over there? Why is the white man a numerical minority on the planet? Has been, as long as we can record time, but yet he dominates the resources of this planet. They're going to understand the world that they live in. History is great. Political science, though, understanding the last 50 years of human civilization is critical in order for Black children to make sense of the world in which they live. Because you can tell them they were great all day long, but if you don't explain to them how they went from the pyramids to the projects to the penitentiary, if you don't explain that, they may internalize racism just like the parents have done. In addition,
now, to put a side note here, I remember he said that was the plan he want for his own institution. And a side
Right.
note, if you didn't know this, D. Darrell. Okay, he was on another channel. He said, even out his mouth, that he wants to ensure and seal his own legacy with the institution. And I'm
Right.
thinking, what's more important, to have the few institutions now for these children now to get into, to start to undo and save a few, or you wait and to have an institution for yourself, so people could, when they go back, say, I had something different from all these other scholars, speakers, said that I have an institution. I think, to me, is small thinking. Most people that are great did work, and the work showed for it. And Martin Luther King and Malcolm, or any other people that had to fight to get us to this point, they do the work and say, we're going to have, I want an institution in my name, and remember, nothing would have got done.
Right.
The work has to be done regardless. That means if there's a need, the need has to be met. There shouldn't be such, should not be prolonging the way it has to be. And if you're waiting for a surplus of money to really get something started, to a lot of us in the Black community, we look at it as cap and talking. Especially when we look at majority of children that's being raised by just single children, either by choice or not, that they need something now to put these babies in to start, build the process so that way it could help usher the new set of Black people of tomorrow. And as much as I don't want to say, I don't see it yet. Now, mind you, all that he's added that wants institute, that's a lot. And we all know, if we talk about money, and trust me, Deidre, you've been in business now for over a decade, probably more, maybe pushing maybe close to 20 years, I'm not sure. And you know how much it takes to maintain and run a facility. It is not cheap.
Sure not.
So when people ask about the money, either they donate or not, they actually right in their mind to ask, how are you going to maintain? Because you asking in your sector in Delaware, poor Black women, mostly that's raising children by themselves, either by choice or the parent not, to pull money. They're not going to pull money out of thin air, last time check. A lot of them are not going to get an OnlyFans now and say, I need to have an OnlyFans account and supply it so I can throw my children into OnlyFans to throw my children into your institution. And remember, there was some videos of him talking about, say, these, he said, you look how much money these people are spending, they got the money to spend it. Really? You already got, like, let's say a couple million, maybe $1 million now, possibly, or maybe you're under $1 million. For the first 4 years, and this is supposed to be like a middle school and high school, last time I checked, am I right?
Right.
So you have already possibly 46 years to start pushing for a future that has gone for your institution. Do you think you're going to sustain the first 4 years? Of depending on what age these children are that going to institution? Should be no more question. And I put ask really conscious questions. And this is not just the men. Women asking these questions, bro.
Of course.
That have finance degrees. That does money. They look at them and say, how are you going to sustain this? And it's going to take more than just under $1 million. It's going to take millions of dollars you will need some assistance from the system, possibly. Because that's what shit black people got like that. Regardless, we spend money on Nikes, bags, video games, Wookie Weave, all this garbage. That's not enough for just to maintain a school. Even if, let's say people donate, right? You need people, let's say, I wish I had an account. They say how much it takes if a person set up a school like Omar's doing, how much they got to throw free money out their pocket to maintain it. And
Right.
if it's less than $20, I'm saying, okay, good. How many people you know right now that's really comfortable at this present day, comfortable giving Omar money right now, and you see how he's carrying out and not moving with a sense of purpose out here? These are questions that has
There's a lot of questions that need to be
asked. And mind you, like you said, he's going to have the school running. Okay, all power to him. I'm hoping that once you have run, that you're able to stay instead of have to close out after court a couple years. And you can't blame this on black folks.
No, you cannot.
You cannot. Because, and here's this. Besides the conscious stripper that kind of messed up from get the first million, from what he said from a so-called promising athlete or retired athlete, I'm thinking, if you got that clout and that notoriety, people will still give you the money regardless that you were having sex on the low with somebody else.
I'm gonna say, in regards, if a person really wanted to give you $1 million, they would give you $1 million.
They give you $1 million, yeah.
Yeah, come on. Come on, man. That was just a cop out. You know, I get it. If you was really serious, you would have gave him $1 million. Yeah. Because I guarantee you, they're giving millions to other people, donating all kinds of causes.
All the time.
So, but I get it. I mean, he was hoping to get someone that could give him a substantial amount of money. But to me, that conscious stripper stuff, even though she claimed that he was misusing the money and fraud, I get it, but come on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what's good, Mr. Brown? I see in the chat room. What's good? That's good. Yeah, so it don't take much. Let me back. Yeah, I'm saying.
But I get it. Everybody has their own opinion. That's what occurred. That's you didn't get the money. The bottom line, regardless of what happened, you were not able to get the bag on that situation. So it's that was like what the conscious stripper stuff came out like in 16 or 17.
No, it came out in 2015, roughly summertime. I remember there was some blog talks. I remember he was on certain.
Yeah, it came out in 15. Yeah, so man, that's 8 years ago. So shit, it came. The conscious stripper came out in 15.
Yes, 2015. I know because after that happened, the woman was interviewed by people throughout Blog Talk and YouTube, and then Dr. Omar, I think he did a response on somebody's platform. I forgot, and he also had, he wrote a long paragraph. It was like a couple page in his apology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I thought it was in 16, but I guess I was wrong.
No. Listen, bro. I've been watching this brother's progress for a long time, very long time. Because you could say I'm a fan, but I always, like anything, want to see a black man do well. You get me? I see the work he's doing. You get me? So that's why I kept rocking and following him even to now. You know what I'm saying? And mind you, I did throw money in hopes that it goes to his institution, But I'm gonna go in 10 more minutes on this videotape, and then we'll eventually wrap up. Fair use.
Okay.
Financial and economic science, teaching our young men and women the laws of money. Teaching them real estate, the basics of it, tax, how to do your own taxes, the basics of it, international investments, the basics of it, world trade, the basics of it, business planning, and then giving them the seed money they need to actually go into business themselves is what we're going to be doing at FDMG. In addition to that, we have our agricultural curriculum where we're going to teach our young men and women how to grow their own food. One of the things that hurt us as a people when they began to shut down and deindustrialize the inner city Black communities in the 1970s, not only did we lose out on the trades, we lost out on agriculture. At least 50% of Blacks who came to the North during the Great Migration, their trade was agriculture. And we lost out on agriculture. Tens of thousands of jobs were lost out when Black farmers became disenfranchised and when white farmers laid off of Black people. We have to get back into agriculture, not only because our people need to eat to live, but also so our people can earn a living. So we are right now in the process of looking at farmland in Delaware. We're going to have a small farm right there to teach our young men how to grow their own food, how to raise their own animals. That's a significant part of the FDMG program.
You've spoken about education, you've spoken about religion, agriculture, all of these different things, and they all play a factor in bettering the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it that when you go on social media, when you go on all these different podcasts, YouTube, everything, there's such a hyper focus on marriage being the key to fixing the Black community's issues?
Well, you can't get away from marriage because the family is the basic unit of a civilization, of a community, of a society. If the family is not healthy.
Now, she should ask the real crucial question. And this is why we have to do better when we ask questions. Now, what do you mean by marriage? You mean marriage by paper or jump the broom marriage? Because last time I checked, no, I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
Jump the broom marriage.
I'm dead serious. Listen, no joke. You know I don't like playing around. I'm saying because I hear Negroes, Blacks, saying that we are married 85%, but when you look at some data, it says by legally we married around 30%. What's going on here? Is it 30 or 80%? Because to get married 80%, that means you gotta be married legally by the state. Am I right, Dieter?
Right.
So where is these brothers?
Man.
I'm not gonna fight them because I get it now. It's like, because listen, Black man has been beaten up too much in society, bro. Let's keep it real. They find any way of a win just to push back on the Black bitch, or the one they like to call this BITCH. You get me? For a good reason. Tom said, Black men still marry Black women 85%. Sir or lady, where is 85%? It said by paper it's only 30%. And now it's getting lesser. Regardless, you want to get married or she gets married or she don't want to get married. So we gotta really ask the crucial question: what the F is this? You getting married are you getting married legally or you just? I should do a post on my community. I might do that. Say, and 85%. What percent is jump the broom? I'm gonna do that. That gave me some idea. Anyway, fair use in fact.
The almost no other institution can be, because all institutions are comprised of individuals who grew up in functional families or dysfunctional families. One of the productive, positive, healthy behavior wasn't something we saw in the houses where we lived. One of the reasons so many of our homes are led by single parents, be they male or female, is because adults can't get along in the same home. So there's no getting away from repairing the Black family if you want to repair the Black community. Children are going to be born. There is no evidence in human history that people are going to stop making babies just because they don't like each other. People always find time to have sex and reproduce. And we don't want to have any more dysfunctional African people growing up amongst us, because they're only going to work against the best interest of what we need to do to get ourselves right. So we have to fix the Black male-female relationship situation. And we also have to keep in mind that women are socialized to get married. And part of that is due to the biological clock of women. They cannot have babies into perpetuity. And so as a result of that, Men have to also be socialized to get married in order for women to be able to give birth within the sanctity of marriage. Because if you don't socialize the men to get married to the women, men can have babies as long as they want. Although they shouldn't, they can. And so if you don't make marriage important to the young black man, the black woman never gets a chance to experience childbirth within the sanctity of marriage. So marriage is very important because it is the foundation of our community.
I don't think we'll ever have functional black families unless both parties seek healing via therapy, whatever that looks like for them. Because I feel like two broken people, that's not going to work long term. Like, it sounds nice, but I don't feel like it'll work long term.
I agree with you, but I don't think everyone's broken, number one. But I do agree with you. Number two, again, no one's waiting, though, to build these relationships. So we have to begin the process of repair where we are and do the best that we can with the adults that exist. But our priority should be the children. My biggest disappointment with us is not all the dysfunctional adults that we have. That's not the problem. The problem is the children are going through that same dysfunctional process because they do not receive the benefit of our focus. If we focused on those under the age of 25, if we took everyone under 25, even if you took everyone under the age of 5, and said every black baby 5 or younger from now until their 25th birthday are going to get this type of education, this type of socialization, this type of indoctrination, these types of trainings, these types of experiences. In 20 years, you have a whole new black community. In 20 years, you can fix this whole thing in one generation. But we don't prioritize the children. We would rather try to fix adults, most of whom are almost irreparable. And I say that from a psychological standpoint because statistically, most people who go to therapy will not be helped. Only about 15% of people who seek psychological assistance will get better. And do you know why?
That's
Most
not
of
true.
them are not motivated.
All right.
That's not true.
We got an error. So, all right, correct him.
Now I gotta stop you on that. That is innately wrong. There is no measurement to support the percentage of people who are going to be healed or going to be better. That you come on, like 15%, like that is innately wrong. If only 15% of people actually got better, then we would have a worse mental health crisis that we already have in America today.
Oh, wow.
It is no way in hell. That means if I'm seeing 100 clients, which I can see, only 15 of them are good, and the other 85 is struggling. Come on, that was. I'm sorry. I hated to to stop you on that, but that to me is just innately false. And there's no research to substantiate that. There's no appraisal or testing instrument to measure that. I have never read any research to say that. Are some issues more difficult than others to manage? And let's understand, therapy is not necessarily a cure. Okay, although it can produce situations where people are healed and they move on further in their life without any other complications, or things may occur at some point in time as far as episodes and so on where they can easily learn how to manage it or deal with it. But to say only 15%, that's just not true. That's just a number you just randomly threw. I'm saying this as a mental health professional, a licensed mental health professional at that. If the rates were that low, people would be questioning the viability of mental health professionals. That is not true.
It's just not. I just had to make note of that because this is, this is one of the reasons why you brought me up here in case for things like this that I'm qualified to speak on. And I'm definitely qualified to speak on that. So I just wanted to preface that and relates to that number and that statistic that he quoted.
Well, as you know, Omar is a doctor in this field, and he has many degrees. So
yeah,
like
but Umar does have a doctoral degree, but Umar is not a licensed clinical psychologist. He actually doesn't have a license at all.
Okay.
So we also have to take that into consideration. That the fact that he's never held a license, although he's held a certification to operate in the realm of school education, not necessarily a clinic or a hospital or other mental health facility or umbrella. So we want to be mindful of that. I have. So
all right.
So I just want to just point that out.
All right. Well, it's good for you to point it out. That's why I have you up here. Let's soon wrap this up. Fair use and effect.
To change who they are.
That's what I was about
They
to say.
go to therapy looking for a therapist to fix them, failing to understand the job of the therapist is only to help guide you through the process of healing yourself. So my focus, the reason we started with FDMG is, as Frederick Douglass said, and this is one of the models of our school, he said, quote, "It is better to raise strong children than to repair broken men."
A lot of folks are usually set in their ways. People will say when they become adults. But I believe it was one of your previous interviews. You said that I can't remember the specific age. There's a certain age where the mannerisms that a child has picked up at a certain age will stick with them for the rest of their lives, 7 or 8. It was around that range. Whatever they pick up at that certain point is basically molded them to be what they're going to be for the most part. Are races that go to school looking for a husband versus our race, I would say, usually goes to, of course, since we're behind, in my opinion, behind the 8 ball with everything that has transpired not too long ago. Folks tend to forget that this was not long ago, but we are behind. So we're trying to, make up the ground, I would say. But there are some races that are going to school specifically looking for a husband. And like we mentioned earlier, there are a lot of unmarried Black women out there. Dr. Umar, what would you say is a way that Black women could potentially combat that? Because I'm serious, you do have athletes or Black men in general that'll be in African American studies, and then there'll be another race right beside them in the class wanting to learn about African American studies as well. Yeah. And then from there, another Black man is with another race.
The socialization is different because so few Black women will get married over their lifetime. Only about 1 in 4 Black women will get married over their lifetime. Because mothers are aware of this, my daughter is not likely to get married. And if she does, there's a strong chance she will be married after her 30s. So Black women are socialized to be so independent that the pursuit of marriage becomes a secondary thought to Black women, as it may be a primary thought to the women of other cultures. And so white girls, many of them will get married in college or right after they graduate from undergrad. They're married coming out. They're socialized that way. Black women, because of the absence of Black men, it's not her fault. She's simply adapting to the reality in which she lives. So looking for a mate is no longer a priority because there's a strong chance I may never find one. And so she pursues her education at the expense of motherhood. And once she gets the education, she now feels that the men who are available to her are not her equal socially, financially, economically. That paralyzes her chances of getting married even further. So what am I saying?
Before he continues,
I'm glad you stopped there because I do want to comment on that. But
yeah, before you comment, let me say this. I'm not sure which black parent he's referring to that if black men were involved in that. Last time I checked, I don't see black fathers telling their fucking daughters, as you go to college, go find a mate, get married. Have you?
To go to college to get married?
Yeah. Find a
Nah,
mate in college, get married.
most black, I don't. They don't say that. You know.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is this, man. In regards to this, you see, the issue is not black women going to college and not looking for husbands, because most black women don't go to college. Now, the research shows that there's a large percentage.
You're gonna get me.
No, most black women don't go to college.
Okay.
The statistics show that there's a high percentage of black women who actually go to college that graduate. That's what the statistics show. The majority of black women do not go to college.
Okay.
and so when we're talking, we're pretending that we got this huge influx of black women who are going to college, who are actually becoming high income earners to the point where it's difficult for them to find a suitable husband because they're out earning black men. That's just not the truth. The issue is that we have a culture in black community that does not value marriage. It's not the fact that black women are not married once they achieve a certain social status, because you know what? The uneducated or the high school graduate or the uneducated African American female, they're not getting married either. So it goes beyond, and this is something that to me, I blame the manosphere for this, with this stuff about you're supposed to be the most educated and I need to learn how to. This is read. You have to. This is why I don't debate with these guys and people that talk about this stuff, because they don't understand how to read research. The research talks about the percentage of black women who graduate and seek degrees and advanced degrees and so on. So there's a small percentage of black women who actually graduate, okay, because there's only a small percentage that go to college. It's just the fact that it's more black women than black men, okay. So of that percentage of black women, the ones who actually become successful, that small minute percentage of black women are going to have a difficult time getting married. But you know what? The college dropout black woman ain't getting married. The high school educated black woman is not getting married. The military black woman is not getting married. The girl that goes to the cosmetologist and those that they go to these trades and the nail technician, they're not getting married either. So the issue is not the fact that these women are not getting married. The issue is that we don't have enough productive black men. That's the issue. We're not producing enough black men who are at an economic level to take care of themselves and to take care of a family of 4. Because the average black family is made up about 2 to 3, is 4 to 5 people. And there's not a lot of black men. I'm not gonna say a lot, but there's a low percentage of black men who can afford to take care of a family of 4 or a family of 5. And you know what happens? Those men who can afford to do that, they get married. The ones who don't are the ones who are having problems. This is not a black, because and I get it. I could see if, let's say every year we got 10, 15 million black women going to college, or they're educated, right? And I could see if those out of that 10 million, you got 80% that graduate, which is not, they graduate somewhere around 60%, something like that, which is pretty high for the percentage level. But we're only talking about if let's say out of that 15 million, we're talking about 7 to 8 million people. Okay. Of that 7 to 8 million people, only about 15, I'm gonna say only less than 4% is gonna earn six figures. Okay. So now we're gonna drop that down to like maybe 400,000, maybe 300,000 or something like that. So we're not talking about a lot of black women. We're not who are in this dilemma. I'm more concerned about the collective. I'm talking about the average black woman who probably is working retail, making $15 to $18 an hour. I'm talking about the high school graduate who may have a certification or working in some company, working her way up, making between $18 to $22 an hour, and they got two kids that they can barely take care of or more, that's struggling making $20 an hour. That woman is the one who needs to be married and cannot sustain on her own income. That woman is not getting married. You see, if we can alleviate that, there's a thing, and when you talk about research, you talk about the average, the mean, and the median. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm more about the mean, which is, I mean, not the mean, the mode. I'm sorry, the mean, the mode, and the medium. I'm more looking at the mode, meaning that the amount of occurrences, that the amount of times something occurs. If we're going to take a look at the mode in the African American community is the woman who's working a entry level job, making around 18, 19 to $20 an hour, who has multiple kids and struggling to afford to take care of these kids. That's the woman who should get married. But however, this woman pretends to be a boss and put on this facade as if she got it like that, and she really don't. And don't value marriage. And I can do it all. You can do it all by yourself, but you in debt, and you can barely pay your own bills.
Facts.
Just because you look good, and you wearing nice stuff, and you got your nails done and your hair done, and then your self-care is up to par, but you're struggling financially. That is the woman in our community who is not getting married, who needs to be married the most. But if you let them tell it, they don't need a man. And this goes to the fact that we need to change the culture of how we perceive marriage and quit teaching people we don't need other people in our life.
But G. Durrell, you know the notion that a lot of women that, let's say they work these minimum wage job and they're making, let's say, $8 or $10, or even now the minimum wage in certain states is like 15 now. You heard about this. That
right.
They're fine, they're good because they get other necessities like government assistance, WIC. I mean, not WIC. like for EBT, these things, these other things the state supplies,
right,
which they said that it amounts to, with all the other extra aid the government gives to women, if they qualify. Now, if they qualify, you're looking at another extra $60K or more.
Hell no. No,
joke. This is what I'm hearing. No, listen.
No,
brother. I wish.
Amiri. I made a mistake and called you Amiri.
Yeah, but before you say something,
okay.
This I thought was a joke, but this is what I'm hearing from the old man, and he had one dude that did the numbers, and I'm not sure where they're getting this from, because I didn't know that they're getting that many, and if they qualify in benefits like this, and they're working a job.
No.
So you can respond. Go ahead.
Okay, now I'm gonna say this because I'm sure, I don't know if Charles Faulkner left, because I had
no, it was not Charles.
I had to debunk Charles on talking silliness about their black women getting $130,000 worth of benefits. Man, stop. Listen, I'm gonna say this. You're talking about if these women are making to qualify for Section 8 or HUD housing, you're not making no 30,000. The women who are qualified for that make probably minimum wage, maybe I want to say $7 to maybe $12 an hour. I don't even think you qualify for that if you make over 25 to 30,000. And it also is also determined on how many children that you have. The average black woman don't have 5-6 children making $30,000. The average black woman may have about 3 kids, maybe 4, maybe, but I'm gonna say on average about 3 kids making about 35,000. Okay, that's not no money for raising on your own without a husband, and you doing it by yourself. Most of those women do not qualify. They're actually at a little level right above the Section 8 female in the hood. They're actually paying bills, they paying taxes. They probably can get some level of assistance when it comes to NCI for childcare. They may be able to afford some food stamps, depending on the state that you're in. They're not getting TANF and other different things. They may have some level of, if they choose to go to school, they may have some things where they can get some type of assistance to go to get a trade or go to college or community school like that. But that's a small percentage that actually follow through with that. They're not getting those $60,000, and then they may qualify for Medicaid if that too. But they're not using $60,000 a month in government. I mean, $60,000 a year in government funding. That's basically like $5,000 a month when you add all of that together. It's just not. It's not. No, it is, and I'm saying this because my company helps people get these benefits, particularly those that have disabilities and mental health issues. And I know the women. I see these women that are in this predicament every day. They're not getting $60,000 a year. I mean, I know they're not getting that in the state of Texas. I know the system in Louisiana. They're definitely not getting that in Louisiana. Now, I understand there are some ultra liberal states that may be a little bit more, open to giving more funding, but the standard of living in those states are higher than in the South. So you also got to factor that in. So this is not true. They're not getting that money, man. No state government can afford to give that kind of money to the average person that's getting those benefits. Very few states could afford that. And that's just the reality, man. And this is not me trying to tell whoever is wrong. This is not a matter of being right or wrong. This is a matter of just being practical and a matter of me this is part of what I do. So I know what they're getting and what they're not getting. Yeah. And so it's a difference between you reading something and you're not understanding the context and the eligibility and requirements that come with that number. They're not factoring that in. They're just looking at raw numbers.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna hit him up and see if he can forward me where he's getting in the calculation and where in all 50 states where the benefits spread out, because there has to be a medium. What is the total average and what is each state will average the average of living in these states to equate where they get this number? Because in the East Coast, where the cost of living is pretty much higher, just like certain parts of the West Coast, besides down south, it varies. Yeah. That wherever you get, it's always going to equate to keep you above water.
Yeah.
And not supposed to something that you're gonna be living it up. Because me thinking rationally, you work a fucking mid-wage job. All these benefits can equate to almost what a person, if they got a trade on a starting salary, is gonna make roughly over 60 or possibly 70K more a year. And they don't include in taxes. And a man that works and they gotta pay taxes out of that.
Right.
So things had to really add up. So I'll hit him up just to get some more clarity. But how much more minutes on this? I wanted to get to the part when he's talking about the men, because that's the part I want to get to, and it should be now because he's talking about the women. So once we get to that part, we'll probably have to wrap this up because it's been longer than we need to.
Number one of the reasons that white women are so good at getting top tier black men, in addition to the self-hate, because that's the primary reason. You don't even date outside your race if you love who you are. But Putting that to the side, white women will find a black man with potential who's dead broke. He may have nothing at all, but she sees this man is an inventor. She sees this man is a scientist. She sees this man is totally committed to achieving. And I know if I ride him out, he will take me to the financial promised land. The white woman will find a black man in progress. The black woman tends to want him already at his destination. The white woman will see him through to millionaire status. The black woman tends to want the already finalized millionaire.
Amen.
Now
And says,
I
show
do
me the promised land. And so I don't want you up there. I want you there now. So when the pearly gates open and say, black men, yes, you are all what I want. I'm ready now. And then they just spread their legs. Let me stop.
but see, the reason why I'm gonna say this, man.
Oh yeah, somebody wrote Kenya said that's a lie. Kenya, let's be honest, sweetie.
I'm gonna say this, man. We gotta understand. I'm gonna tell you the real. I hear what he's saying about white women, willing to work with someone, and I'm not saying there's not black women that don't do that, because there are black women who do.
Yeah, they do it.
The problem with that is that white women, in all intents and purposes, grow up seeing a certain productive behavior from men, whether they're white and so forth. White people, or the white community, no matter what economic group you're in, they have a level of business culture. Okay? And what I'm saying about that, when I'm talking about business culture, what I'm talking about is a certain mindset to, and whether, no matter what social economic condition that they're in, is that they are afforded the ability of seeing men in their community who actually work on things, that actually inventing stuff, going to school, working on a business. They see this, so they recognize certain type of behaviors that are compatible to probably equaling to success 5 to 8 or even 10 years down the line, because they see men in their community in similar conditions, or they may have seen their own father that was in that type of position. The black community doesn't have that, where women, a large percent of our women see black men engaging in productive activity that could have long-term benefits down the line. So due to that being the case, white women, and a lot of, and that's another thing that's not talked about, white women are trained by their mothers to identify this too. Okay. And so with the addition of that, they are more equipped with recognizing black talent even before it blossoms. And so black women have not been trained in that skill, or not proficient in that. They're just looking at the end result, because they've never witnessed a lot of men engaging in the fact that they working on this. You know, I'm gonna tell you this. The guy, what's the guy that owned Walmart? Walton. I forgot Walton's first name, but Mr. Walton, who owned Walmart, right? Don't you know, man, it took him years to get that little tiny store that he built out of his garage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Walton didn't start off great, man. I think it's Bill Walton. I forgot, whatever's Walton, whatever. But the guy started off with a tiny store out of his garage, built it up to get like a little small, like hardware type. It was kind of like a hybrid between a regular store and a hardware store, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then he began to start making millions.
Yeah.
But that woman it took him like 5 to 8 years to get to the point where he was making millions. But he started off as a small little bitty ass store that people like going to. He had to work his butt out, but he didn't start off making millions like that. Walmart was a small little mom and pop store that blew up over years. And it wasn't like a huge blow, a huge growth. It was he didn't really start taking off until he started becoming regional and then became more national. He blew up once he was a full-fledged corporation. But in the infancy stages, that was slow, steady growth that Mr. Walton experienced. He was actually average middle class guy when he started that business. He wasn't a millionaire, but this lady saw this, and she saw the work and the time he put into it. To basically support him through what he was trying to do. That's just the facts. But if you, and so white women have a model. They see this in their own community. So if they could see it in their own community, they'll spot it in the black community. But black women don't have that. They don't, man. We don't have a lot of examples of that to pull from. So therefore, you looking for the finished product, and usually, to be honest with you, the finished product ain't a finished product.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I don't know what my junk started distorted for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, I brought you.
D. Darrell kind of muted. I don't know what happened. He stopped it. It blanked him out mid-sentence.
Yeah, D. Darrell, jump down, jump back in. I'm not sure if it's my connection or yours, but it's starting to act up. Just jump down, just come back in. Yeah, what's good, Alonso? Yeah, you heard that section that Omar said? You heard
it? So I definitely wanted to speak on that and kind of piggyback a little bit off of what D. Darrell was saying. So there are some valuable truths in that. But part of that, I want to say there are a little bit of inaccuracies. And what I mean in that is often the black women don't see that because as black men, we generally praise, the black dudes for being the street dudes, right? And as black men, we are more apt to celebrate someone or put money on someone's books than to give someone money for their books. And we often praise someone for coming home, quote unquote, from prison, as opposed to coming home from work or from college. So what D. Darrell is saying is absolutely accurate, I should say, but there were some portions of context missing. And so, even when we're in business, right? We, as a black man, if you're in business, you trying to be white, this, that, and the third. Prime example, the guys I buy weed from will call themselves the Hood's El Chapo. I grew up here in New Haven, Connecticut, and most of the time you think we came up with butlers, but I grew up with dudes who were selling crack and cocaine, right? Those dudes would call themselves the Hood El Chapo. I'm almost 40 years old. I know one guy who is currently in prison for selling cocaine, and he's about 5-6 years older than me. So he's about 45, 46 years old, currently in prison for selling cocaine, calls himself the Hood El Chapo. Meanwhile, I always go around and I say, hey, fellas, if you want to be the Hood El Chapo, there's this thing called money laundering, which we don't do. Right. So what is money laundering? That's taking dirty money and making it clean. Yep. December 10th, 2002, there was an article from the New York Times that says new hiding place for drug profits, insurance policies. But when I talk to the dudes who sell me weed, who I spend between $100 and $300 per week on, they don't want to hear it. Yet we're driving $80,000 cars and going home to rent controlled apartments that are in the names of our women. You don't see any of the Genovese family doing that. You don't see any of the Colombian cocaine cartel doing that. So we have to, as more of us like yourself, myself, and D. Darrell, we end up having to link up with each other, and we end up being the small minority that gets ignored by the vast majority. I'm actually in the middle of go ahead.
Miss Kenya, there's no such thing as advocating for people doing acts like that of what they call money laundering. As you know, money laundering is illegal, and no one in their right state of mind, if they want to risk not only the freedom but their common sense, to do such an act in a more digital environment, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for money laundering. I'm just explaining things that were done. Now, there is a reason that, as a whole, we haven't done stuff like this. But even in crime, we don't support each other. You look at the rappers, they always want to be, I'm, Irv Gotti, this, that, and the third, as opposed to naming themselves Bumpy Johnson. Or, prime example, I have a great-great-granduncle who was a gangster back in the days, and from his number running and drug selling, he legitimized his money by purchasing the Negro League Pittsburgh Pirates. So there's always, in corporate America, there's generally some element of criminality, right? We look at the 1920s and Prohibition, or the Kennedys and liquor running, right? Now they're in politics. But even in, unfortunately, black gangs, we don't seem to understand that we need plants, right? So you don't need to be running around saying, fuck 12. What you need to be doing is saying, hey, a few of us young bucks need to become police officers, become attorneys, become judges, become district attorneys, things of that nature, so that when we come through the ranks, we can have someone, look the other direction, etc. She says a black man will be with a sister when he's broke and leave her for a white woman when he gets money. The reality of that, Kenya, is because very similar to a black woman generally needing to see the finished product, a black man is more likely to assume that the white woman has been around that through her fathers, etc. So he's more apt to feel like she's probably going to be less likely to frivolously spend his money. Is that true? Hell no. Nah. Look at Tiger Woods.
Yep. Yeah.
But I'll pause there.
D-Darrell, you back?
Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, distorted. All right. Let me keep running because I want to talk about the men, and that'll be it. Fair use.
And so this works against the black woman getting the type of man that she wants, because you want him to meet you in his finished form. If you're waiting for him to finish achieving his goals before he asks for your hand in marriage, 9 times out of 10, the woman of another race is going to take him before he even gets to you. I believe black women have to reconsider this notion that he has to have something to offer me at the beginning of the marriage. And I think she needs to look more at his potential to become what she would like him to be.
Right.
I think
and Dr. Umar,
can you pause that right there, though?
Go ahead.
No, you hitting on it, man. You hit.
So I think one inaccuracy as well is that's a major problem. Black women do absolutely date potential, and that may be a major issue. What they need to, what needs to be looked at more is not potential, right? Because I could potentially, be a football player, but at 40, but the likelihood is I won't, right? What we need to look for more is, instead of potential, we need to look for that drive and ambition. So if he has potential, that's great, but you need to make sure that there's potential to back up that, or ambition to back up that potential. A lot of guys will say, hey, I'm a power forward in NBA 2K, right? Versus I'm a power forward on, in the G League trying to get to the NBA, right? So there's that ambition there. I'll stop there.
Another thing, in regards to potential and what we say the drive. As you know, nothing is certain or guaranteed in life. If we look at, and this is going to be triggering, the poor men that we see here today. If you know a man is not doing anything with substance, and literally we've seen it. We're men. We have family members and we've seen it. I mean, if we're close enough. That's not hating on anything, doing anything. Ladies, I think that'll be the last dude that should be getting the draws, personally. As men, we could see it. You know, I mean, doing something productive, or somewhere if he's going somewhere, or just being somewhat productive. See, when a man's very less productive, he's not gonna be about shit. End of story. It is what it is. Now I hear some women say some dudes get comfortable in their feelings. I get it. But I look at is this man being productive, because now in this society as we see fit, and I've noticed it with the young youth now coming up, that they have very little skills, much as any drive or anything of willing to learn from other men. And because they've been coddled and been baby and been digitized in the society. If you notice, people, that the youth now that's coming up, from what I'm seeing, I could be wrong, a lot of them are not even doing the necessities that people are past due in the advent of things that's easy with technology. Basic skills. You get me?
Right.
Those are gone now. As you know, when the shutdown happened, most of the young people now don't really want to even work now. They want to sit down and hope to do the less to get the greater outcome. That's the thing we dropped the ball as people, parents, either in both households or one. So you're not going to see no potential, just that alone. So let me continue playing this. I got to get through this tape, man. I don't want this to push 3 hours. It's very easy.
No, I already know what you're about to say.
Yeah.
Because I have seen it. I've seen brothers. I've seen it.
I've seen it too. I know exactly.
Where the white woman took them, and the sisters never even looked at them.
But okay. So I hear what you're saying, but I have not seen that. I have seen. No, hold on. I have seen Black women stick around for the potential that this man will become the man that he's saying he's going to be. And they do that for years and years and years. Nothing comes of it. They part ways, and then he finally gets person.
Is she
wait? The question we asked, is this after her back get blown out, or before, after? Either or. Because usually you stick around unless the dude has something for you to stick around. If he's not doing anything and you stick around, that's on you, sweet. You did something that this Negro that's buying to you that you're sticking around. Now you hear these questions like these was talking about, say women don't check because they're square, they're lame, they're awkward. And yes, some of them probably are. Because you have to sit there, come out your house and able to have conversations and willing to try and fail. But some dudes don't want to do that now. As you know, Deidre and Alonso.
Right.
The ones that's traveling abroad now because they say they can't get the access because they think they play too much game. Look at this, man, sharp in a suit. See that? I'm gonna put that in. Hold on. I got you, bro. Let me do this, man. Right there. See that? Man came right to work. So showing that thing right there. He's for real. Don't let it fool you. Don't let the suit fool you. But like I said, I'm trying to figure this out. All right. So like I said, that's the question to be asked. But Omar's going to, because he suffered this too. Like mostly dudes, they complain during their times of struggles during the school and stuff. Omar explains more detail.
Waiting on him to become what she needs personally, or is she waiting for him to become what she would like him to be professionally? There's a difference. And what I mean by that, okay, because let me tell you what I see. A lot of sisters will spend their best years playing around with men who they're sexually attracted to, but have absolutely no promise for them as a husband or as a father.
Don't forget Omar, he also blows her back out as well. Don't forget that too.
The woman knows this, but she's attracted to him sexually. He's popular. He's swagalicious. She knows he's not husband material. She knows he's not father material. But I love the attention I'm getting from this handsome, attractive, popular man.
Mm-hmm.
When she gets too old to be of any use to men of that type, the swag daddies, she now goes out looking for a husband. At this point, you're 35 to 45, still gorgeous, because black don't crack. But brothers 35 to 45, especially in their 40s and 50s, when they come across a drop-dead gorgeous sister who hasn't been married, and in some cases haven't even had children, a lot of brothers tend to back off. They say something ain't right here, because who you are and what you bring to the table, somebody should have been snatched you up. And most men tend to assume, and very often accurately so, that you wasted your 20s and 30s playing the field instead of getting serious about building your family. Sisters tend to do exactly what brothers do in their 20s and 30s, and that is play around and enjoy themselves. The problem with that is men can make babies forever, women cannot. And so I think in the socializing of our daughters, black women have to pull back just a little on this independent woman phenomenon that our girls are being indoctrinated with, because I think we're overdoing it to the point of radical black feminism, and I think it's working against black women's ability to find a suitable mate in their 20s and in their 30s. Let me give you this. I'm gonna give you personal.
Mm-hmm.
I was not one of the swag daddies in high school. I was a bookworm. I was the black activist. I was the nerd. I was attractive, and girls appreciated that. But they were not all over me the way they were around some of these other brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But guess
So real quick, one thing that I noticed, and again, this goes with our community. By the way, the reason I'm dressed, I work from home. I'm actually getting prepared for stuff for tomorrow. And one of the things about ambition, especially when you're working from home, is simply the act of getting dressed, right? Because I'm not going out to the public, but the act of getting dressed actually puts you in work mode. But one thing I want to say in regards to what Umar said about those age ranges, and especially black men playing around in our 20s. So if you look at the Jewish community, if you're a Jewish man and you're not married by the age of 26, they ostracize you. Now you no longer have access to a lot of this money that's going on. You no longer have access to being referred to a lot of other people in business. So now you are barred from access to resources to even develop yourself. Like I said, by the age of 26, these people also do take advantage of the welfare system because they do things like have 10 children, purchase a large property in Brooklyn, live in the penthouse, get married by prenuptial agreement. So technically by United States law, they're not married. And then they're able to take advantage of things like the welfare system. So we also have to learn how to use that stuff. I know a lot of men in the manosphere were upset with Goldman Sachs giving, what was it, a few $1 million or $1 billion to black women. Let me explain to you. 10 billion. So the flaw in that thinking and being mad about the black women getting money was this. Back in 2015, I worked at a company called Premier Capital Funding. We did business to business cash advances. It started from a company that I was working on Wall Street at 40 Exchange Place. When we went to Premier Capital Funding, it was owned and operated by two guys who were Russian mafia members who had been felonies and had been on papers. Now, when you're a felon, you can no longer participate in financial services or the financial services industry. So the loophole of that was they got minority business loans through their wives, and their wives were the names of the company. So what we as black men should start doing is learning from the others what they're doing and how to implement it. And that obviously is not an overnight thing, right? There was Batman Year One, and then there's, Batman Year 20, where he kind of has figured out things. He's the best detective, he's got the best equipment, and, is the best crime fighter. So, no, I don't expect us to pull things overnight, but small things like that can be implemented. And there should be no excuses, Black men. We should start ostracizing you if you're out there not showing dick discipline, for lack of a better term. Even Kevin Samuels said so. If you're out there with 14 baby mamas, you're not a high value man. You don't even get invited to the club. I'll pause there.
Yeah. The General, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, brother.
All right, good. Excellent. Let me see how much more of this. I'm just gonna run 2 more minutes and let you respond, General, because you haven't really listened much into the stream. So let me continue.
Okay.
Those same women who they knew I was going to be something. They knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I was voted most likely to succeed in my class. They knew it. And I'm not just speaking of the girls in high school, even in my neighborhood. You understand? Because there was only but so many girls in high school. They saw it, but they chose the swag daddies. In me was a husband. In other brothers, there was a husband. But at the time, you wanted the swag daddy. And that's okay if you only want the swag daddy for a couple of years. But no, you want to play with the swag daddies your whole 20s. And then you want to go into your 30s. And you want to, Black women have to know quit. Get serious about building that family. Because what I'm seeing a lot of sisters do, and this is unfair. This is unfair to Black men. I hear a lot of women in their 40s and 50s talking about they can't find no good men, right? That's partially true. But you know what the other part is?
Hold on now, let him finish.
It's partially true, but here's the other part. What were you doing in your 20s and 30s that stopped you from finding one then? Why do we have so many 40 and 50-year-old beautiful women with so much going for them, never been married? It's one thing to have tried it and it didn't work. I'm saying you've never been married. You know why? Because you was out there playing that field, having your fun. And then you woke up one day and said, damn, I'll be 43 tomorrow. And I ain't never been proposed to, and I ain't never even thought about it. Now, all of a sudden, you're in a rush to get married. And because brothers are not jumping at the opportunity because they know there must be a story here, all of a sudden, we're not serious. Don't get me wrong. There's some truth to the narrative. But the other part of the narrative, Black women are waiting too long to get serious about building family.
I
agree with that.
I know that we're just going to disagree on it because
but give me that one piece, Queen. Give me this one piece. What is your opinion on my point that a lot of Black women, for reasons of career and reasons of wanting to date,
yes, I agree. I do agree with the point on the hyper independence and not focusing on finding a husband and having a family. I agree on that point. I feel like when it comes to millennials, I don't feel like millennial men are raised to be husbands or good partners.
I agree.
And
but
so,
who's raising them though?
Their moms, I guess.
So that means what? There needs to be a conversation amongst Black women about the messages they're giving to their sons. Because guess what, Queen? As someone who works with Black boys on regular, guess what they tell me?
What?
Dr. Umar. My father is the one who itches.
Yeah.
My father ain't the one who told women ish. Mother is
not going to show up for you.
I
You
agree.
trust them.
I agree.
Like,
I believe
feel
that. No, I
both.
agree.
That's
blame
the
is equal.
issue.
I'm not saying. I want to be clear. I'm not saying the mother is more at fault.
Responsible. Yeah.
No, it's equal.
Yes.
Because I'm gonna tell you this right now. More than the single black mother, I'm blaming the professional black man. I want to be very clear about this. More than the single mother. There's nothing a single mother can do wrong in that house, raising the sons or the daughters, where I'm going to fault her more than a professional black man for abandoning the black community. If you notice, most black men of means, I don't care if you got a barbershop, I don't care if you got a restaurant, a car detail spot, lawyer, doctor, engineer, educator, principal, they do not live in the black community. They have moved out. They have abandoned.
Guys, make sure you like the stream and share the stream as well. Just a quick pause, quick side note. Fair use.
Black boys, even if his father is not in the home, that should not be an automatic introduction to the school to prison pipeline. Even if the father is not in the home, that should not automatically follow that he has to end up a gangbanger. The problem is we don't have enough men who stay in the black community to serve as role models to the young brothers who are still there. I don't blame the rappers. I don't blame the basketball players. I don't blame the football players. I blame professional black men who have abandoned the black community for a life in the suburb. Even if he has a black wife. Even if he has a black wife, you're still in the suburb, far out of reach of the black boys who need you. And I don't think enough responsibility has been laid at the feet of black men for abandoning our women, our daughters, and our sons in the black community for a much more comfortable life in a white neighborhood.
And that's it. And that is it. That's the part I should have got to earlier, but it got so long. And mind y'all, when I do these videos and my own views from the Chaos Man Show, I'm doing it live in effect. I'm not going to sit there watching. No, I'm going to do it right there, right in front. Now, that's the part I wanted to really talk about in the beginning of the stream, but I didn't know where it starts. So I said, let me just run through it and then give my take with the system D Darrell. So you hear it. He doesn't want to blame these other professions, which, okay. I think our people should not be consumed and waste time looking at people that's millionaires in these business to hope to come back and, do things for our children, especially with the boys, and because they got the more reach because of the television. But he really puts more of the fingers on the regular working men. Now, General, you're here. And I don't know if you watched this the first time. What is your overall take on the good old Dr. Umar Johnson?
Bullshit. Bullshit. and here's why. It's bullshit because on one hand he wants to blame the other side, meaning black women. On the other hand, he wants to blame black men. So it's double talk. It's talking out of both sides of your neck. And that's basically what it is. Right? So you gotta pick a team, you gotta pick a side, You gotta say, okay, here's the problem, lay it out. He makes some great points, but at the end of the day, it's bullshit. This is what you call playing the middle. It's playing both sides up against the middle. And that's what that is.
Okay.
You see, you want to say, well, black women are this, that, and the third. Then you come right back and you say, well, black men they left the community and they're in the project. I mean, they're in the suburbs, blah, 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 blah. And they didn't do this, that, and the third. Okay, two things can be true at the same time.
Okay.
But pick a team. Here's a dude that's talking about he wants 2 wives, 2 sisters. Pick a team. Here's a man who's obviously educated, 6 degrees, principal, clinical psychologist, very educated, very smart, a real orator, right? But at the end of the day, he bogs things down because he doesn't pick a side. He's in the middle. See, that's the safe ground. So you're either going to give a problem and then give a solution to the problem, or you're going to stay in the middle. Which one is it? Oh, by the way,
Yeah. Yes.
he's been talking about building the school now for what is it, 8, 10, 12
Several
years?
It's actually this is actually now year 9 now. Year 9 now.
Jesus, he's been going for a while with that school. Real quick, I just wanted to answer Kenya. In terms of advocating money laundering versus the nonsense that's generally advocated, which is, selling drugs and getting pretty much nothing from it but long jail sentences. Yes, I'd rather advocate money laundering than to be the bottom of the barrel and get nothing but money sent up to the Sinaloa cartel for nothing. But no, I'm not advocating criminality in any sense. But if we're going to advocate criminality, which often is in the Black community, let's advocate criminality that's going to be beneficial to us. Just like bootlegging, that's how we know the Kennedys, right? The Kennedys money laundered through bootlegging. So, if we got to pick a poison, let's pick the poison that's not really going to kill us. But I'm sorry to interrupt, General.
No, you're fine, brother. See, that is exactly, what I was talking about. It's playing both sides up against the middle. You know what I'm saying? Real men understand, where the responsibility lies. Real men accept responsibility and accountability. What he's doing is giving a bunch of lip service. What he's doing is trying to force men who did not create the problem. And again, shout out to my man Amiri. A lot of men who did not create the problem, he wants to force them now, or should I say us, to be accountable for the issues and the bullshit that goes on in the Black community, right? You don't get to do that. You don't get to say, oh, well, they didn't create the problem, and they decided to go outside and take their money and their education and their ability to create a life for themselves. They should come back now and give back to the community. Why? When they worked their whole lives to escape it. Like, come on, man.
And often with a lack of support from that very community. However, I am of the mindset of coming back, maybe because you can call me a Black supremacist or whatever. So in my personal opinion, right, I do feel that there is a little bit of responsibility on the successful Black man to, if anybody is a part of the craft, reach back and grab brothers by their cable toe, right? So they ain't out there looking blind, crippled, and crazy. Now, we're not going to reach all of them, but there is something to be said about maybe taking a young brother under your wing while he's still young. Because at a certain age, listen, at 18, people always ask, hey, Alonzo, at 40, what would you tell your, 18 or even 25-year-old self? And I say nothing because my 18 and 25-year-old self wouldn't listen to my 40-year-old self. But, maybe my 13-year-old self would.
Okay, here's the problem. There's a divide in our community amongst the younger generation and the older generation, right?
Yeah.
And there always has been a divide. And the reason why is because with each generation, we become weaker but wiser. All right? So, as a man who has invested 30 years into giving back to the youth and the community and working with after school programs and coaching boxing and little league basketball and little league football and mentorship after school programs and all of this shit, a lot of kids in the modern day society, and particularly teenagers that have been female led and female raised, ain't trying to hear shit that the older generation has to say to them. These zillennials and millennials are not trying to hear shit from Generation X because they've already come up with an ideology in their mind, for the most part, some but not all, few but not most. They've already come up with an ideology in their mind that they know what's best. You can't tell me shit. I ain't trying to hear that. Fuck that. I'm getting out the mud. I'm getting how I live. Okay, so if you get it out the mud, that tells me that you don't need any advice from me, any leadership, guidance, any discipline, any order, any structure from me. You don't need anything from me because you're going to get it out the mud, put on your own. So now that we have to deal with that issue, right? As black men in the community who give back, I still give back to this very day. Not only to, I've raised my children, but I try to help other young men who are destitute, who don't see a means to an end. And most of them, they don't give a fuck. They're like, man, I ain't trying to hear what the fuck you talking about. Okay, whatever. All right. Yeah, okay, sounds good. And I'm like, look, I can show you the blueprint. Here's the blueprint. And I'm not saying you have to do it my way, but you can take some of the things that I have to offer and use it in your own way and then come up with your own plan. They don't even want to hear that. So miss me with the bullshit. Let's look back at all the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball players. Let's look at all the actors and actresses that have went back community into what we know to be the black community and tried to give back. Oftentimes, or than not, what happens to them? They're robbed, murdered, assaulted. This is why you have most of the black men who have made it out. This is why they're like, man, what is shit? I ain't going back to that. I mean, fuck that. They move out of the community. They may give back in the form of money and dollars and try to erect a building in a park or some simple shit like that. But as far as that and saying, hey, I'm a retired NFL ball player, I'm a retired NBA football player, I'm worth 25, 30 million. I'm going to go back and move back into my community that I came from, and that shit ain't happening. And the reason why is because what happens? Their cars get stolen, they get broke into, motherfuckers pull guns on them, they don't have no respect. So this is where we are. So all of that bullshit about, oh, go back into your community and we should give back. No, you give back from afar. Look at all, you can go and you can Google it and search it for you can Google it and search it for yourself. There have been so many NFL that have moved back to their hometown that have been murdered, houses broke into. Down there in Florida, motherfucker moved back into his hometown and erected a nice house and had an after school program for the kids and mentorship programs and all this shit. What happened? They broke into his house, robbed him, and murdered him.
Okay.
So miss me with the bullshit.
Okay.
Miss me with the bullshit.
Okay.
Because I see it happening every day, time after time after time after time.
All right.
You try to give back, you try to go back and move back into your hometown, whatever, New Jersey, New York, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, and what happens?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that is the problem. And that's
well,
but before we continue, General, I wish you were here early, General, because I'm already at a certain time limit already, and I might soon end this. So,
okay.
I wish you came early, man, because we had this stuff early, man. If you came, but it's cool.
Yeah, man, this is good.
And I respect that. You're here nonetheless. That's why when I saw you had to come up, because you're a straight shooter, and that's what I respect about you, General.
Well, I'm trying to give it to you the best way I know how, which is straight down the middle, right? You got a lot of pro-black. I'm pro-black because I am a black man, okay? But I also recognize the bullshit that goes on amongst our community. And it's just not in the lower echelon and lower social economic echelon of our community. It goes all the way up to, look, we had 2 black men. Let's think about this now. On the Oscars, because of a joke that was told, you had one black man who's been a superstar within the community for the last 20 plus fucking years go up and slap the fuck out of another black man who's been a superstar within the black community, talking about Chris Rock situation with Will Smith. Slap the fuck out of that man on national TV on the Oscars. So it ain't just down at the lowest level, motherfuckers at Popeye's Chicken and doing DoorDash. It's all the way up to multi-millionaire, billionaire status that we have this ideology that no disrespect will be tolerated. Instead of saying, "Oh, it's a joke." Okay,
In
cool.
that one,
I'll
though,
handle it. I'll
Yeah.
handle that shit. I'll handle that shit off stage, behind closed doors. Okay, Chris. Hey, man, I ain't really appreciate the shit you said. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't cool. Blah blah blah. Plus, we to be boys. They was best friends. It was cool and shit.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
In that one, though, I think you might.
I get you, General. I get you.
Right.
But I
Well,
appreciate.
I think you're about to go ahead and end chaos, so I'm gonna stop there.
No, if you have anything close marks, you can go ahead, Alonso. But thank you, General, for coming up still. We gotta do this again soon, General, and hope that when I catch you on a better time, make it more lengthier for you to be. You get me?
Okay.
All right, cool.
I appreciate you for inviting me, man. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure, Chaos, to lend my voice to, the community, so to speak. So, appreciate it, man. Out.
Peace out, brother. All right. Well, you know mine, man. White ass work in progress every day and see success. And when people challenge you, they don't challenge you to challenge you, but they challenge you to challenge you. Accept this challenge. Salute. Peace.
Peace, 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 peace. Yeah, folks. That's pretty much it. This was a very long stream. I wasn't really going to make it go this long, but things happen for a reason, and we had to let it play out as it is. You get me? I can't knock it, I can't knock it, And like always, my special guest D Darrell came up, and we had to do this honest conversation of the good doctor, personally. And it's well said that there's certain things he said and there's certain errors. As you can tell, if you go back to replay, you'll get the understanding of errors that the good doctor said throughout the whole stream, in regards to the progress of the school and other things about certain things, data, statistics. So that's pretty much it. That's that. Like always, guys, if you're new to the Chaos Reign channel, welcome to the Chaos Reign show, like many shows. And if you know the drill, how to follow and how to subscribe, the button, red button, hit the red subscribe button, hit the top notification bell for uploads, live streams here on the Chaos Reign show. And let me take this off because that is so annoying. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at ChaosReign7. You could also add me as a friend on Facebook, Eric Rain on Facebook. House. I did not put it in the description of the YouTube channel, but as I go along, I will be pinning it sometimes, so be on the lookout for it. I'm on Clubhouse as well. And Chaos Reign has Rumble now. So in the chat room, and I will probably put in the community tab to join my Rumble as well. I think I might go a little raw on Rumble. As YouTube is a nice, beautiful place, but there's some things that YouTube is not ready for me to unleash. So I probably will do it over there on Rumble at times. So please follow me on Rumble. Get me to, I guess, 100 or so followers maybe on Rumble, so I could start doing some streams over there, and we could really get it in Rumble. Trust me, yeah, won't be disappointed. Trust me on this. So follow me on Rumble. And what else? Oh, join the Discord service of the Chaos Reign show as well. That's also in the About section of the Chaos Reign show. That link is in the YouTube description. And like always, hit your like button and your share button on your way out. And please, pretty please, leave a comment. There was a lot of things said here that you might not absorb in the time frame the stream was, but nonetheless, it is your responsibility. And if you give a damn, please leave a comment, read or good or bad. It doesn't matter to me. It's going to be read regardless. I do want to hear from you. So, like I said, leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section of the Chaos Reign show. And that is pretty much it. Thank you for watching or listening to today's stream. Until next time, the Chaos Reign.